Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, Parallel Deku, back with another fanfiction. This is the second part of What If Deku Had Blood Quirk. Now before starting, please give this video a like, and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. A few days later, with a bag on his back, Izuku was outside of UA. On the day before classes, the day everyone was told to move in, Rumi was hugging Izuku hard, something that would seem out of the normally aggressive heroine. I'm going to miss you, Izu. Rumi continued to hug the boy that became like a son to her. Make sure to call me or text me every day so I know you are okay. I will, Izuku said. If anyone tried to mess with you, tell them I will kick their ass or just pull out a rib bone and beat them over the head with it. Rumi added, I think the second thing counts as assault. Izuku pointed out, just pull out a rib then and threaten them. It's kinda gross to watch your skin rip apart to let the bones out. Rumi stated, it hurts when I make bones though. Shouldn't I not waste them? Izuku asked. You walk around barefoot and have the highest pain tolerance I have ever seen. Plus, didn't you shot a finger joints at that spider the other day? Rumi deadpan. You're the one who jumped up afraid of it. Izuku responded. It was one of those fast and poisonous ones, Rumi argued. I'm not getting poisoned by an insect smaller than my finger. Plus that was on reflex. My finger bullet was a reflex too when you jumped and I saw it move. Izuku said. You better be glad you're adorable. Rumi ruffled Izuku's hair. Use that same charm on your classmates. I have no charm. Izuku responded. You do but you think you don't. Rumi pat Izuku's head. Go settle in at the dorms. I know it might seem hard but I think you might have friends waiting for you there. I don't know anyone that much yet. Just promise me you will give them a small chance before you shit off. Rumi said. I won't blame you but someone might be nice there for all we know. I promise. Bye Rumi. Izuku waved to her as he turned to enter UA. Yo, is that you, Midoriya? Izuku turned to see that same redhead Ijiro walk up to him. What's up, man? Moving in. Izuku responded. So am I. What class do you have? 1A. Izuku stated. Kinda glad that on first appearances it seemed like Ijiro didn't care about Izuku's past. That's awesome. Ijiro flashed a grin. So do I. Rumi smiled as she watched Izuku enter UA. With the redhead, it seemed like friends would just find him. Man, what did you get on the entrance exam? Ijiro asked. I got 39 villain points and 35 hero points. I placed third with 74. I don't want to seem like I am bragging. Izuku said. Oh come on man, brag away. Ijiro said. I earned 94 villain points and 60 hero points. Izuku admitted. I got 154 points total and ranked first. Izuku could see their dorm building now. Ijiro gave Izuku a bewildered look. You got that much and let me brag about mine? Dude, your score is amazing. You should definitely brag, Ijiro exclaimed the last part as they entered the commons of their dorm building. Definitely brag about what? A purple-haired girl asked as she saw new entries. Ijiro pointed at Izuku. This dude is manly as hell. Midoriya, tell her your score in the exams. Izuku felt awkward but said his score. I got 154 points. See, Ijiro said. That's amazing. That is a really high score. A guy with black hair pulled back in a braid said. I got barely 30. Holy shit, it's you, a familiar blonde said as he entered and saw Izuku. You're that guy that destroyed a zero-pointer. You broke one of the zero-pointers. The purple-haired girl looked at Izuku like he was insane. He made this huge thing out of his bones and made it spin like a drill and tore a huge hole in the thing's head, the blonde exclaimed. He broke his own arm and straight up didn't care and tried checking on this cute girl instead. You broke your arm? The guy with the braid raised an eyebrow. Do you have monster strength or something? Hold up, your quirk is your bones? The purple-haired girl asked again. Izuku began to feel uncomfortable with the attention. He shuffled on his feet. My quirk is I don't want to talk about it. Ijiro put his hands up. Don't overwhelm the dude, he just got here. My bad. Just sounded cool what he did. The guy with the braid said. Oh, this one girl who I think said her name was Yaoyorozu asked if once everyone got done with getting settled they all come back down here so everyone can meet. I'm Huryu Rin, by the way. Huryu said. Izuku nodded and went to the stairs. A paper by the stairs tells us what room we are. The purple-haired girl said. Thanks. Ijiro flashed a toothy grin as he followed Izuku to find out where he would have his room. Izuku looked at the paper and saw his room was on the third floor, in between two people, one of which was Ijiro and the other was named Tetsu. Hey, we're right next to each other. Ijiro noticed. That's cool, I guess. Izuku responded with a lack of interest. Ijiro noticed the tone. Hey man, if you don't want to be friends with anyone I don't blame you. It's fine. However, if I know there is a chance I am gonna be your friend. Izuku looked at Ijiro. Why? You look like you could use one. Ijiro said. Please don't take that as an insult, it's just I kinda did look you up after the entrance exam to know more and what happened sucked big time. I doubt I could understand it myself but I know when I was in the dumps a while ago I could have used a friend. It feels wrong to just leave you be if there is a chance to try and be the bro that is there. Izuku studied Ijiro's face for a second. I'm not easy opening up. So there is a chance? Ijiro asked. I suppose, Izuku said as he began to walk again. I'll take it, my guy. Soon it will be known throughout the school that the duo of Kirishima and Midoriya are too manly to step up to. Ijiro grinned as he kept pace with Izuku. Izuku felt a little comfort that someone was pulling a move like Rumi did, forcing their way into his space to help him from burying himself. Ijiro felt genuine and had no ill will or negativity about Izuku's past, or even looked at him as a monster like Izuku believed people would. Izuku began to open his door. Ijiro called to him from his own door. I'll see you downstairs, buddy. Izuku nodded as he entered his room. They had allowed every student to write up modifications to their dorms for their room if they wished, and Izuku had made only a few requests. Because he used up a lot of bones and needed to strengthen them, he asked for a small fridge for his room that he could stock with milk. He had a desk that held a school-issued laptop and his new books. A single bookcase that had some books Tomoko got for him. The final thing he had was his bed that had the box of his parents' stuff in it. He wanted to go through the whole thing, but every time he would end up seeing a photo of times before the compound, and it made him too depressed to continue looking. He set down his bag that had spare clothing and decided that he could put them in his closet after the first class meeting. Izuku walked to the door and made his way downstairs. On the way down, he saw the ashy blonde-haired kid from the exams again, who was equally surprised to see him. Izuku, the blonde said in shock. Hello, Izuku said. I'm sorry, I still don't remember much of anything. The blonde knit his eyebrows, disappointed. At least with you here I can know you are safe, if that helps, Izuku said. My name is Katsuki Bakugo, Izuku, the blonde said as he started to turn to go up the stairs. Hearing that name triggered a memory of Izuku's to resurface. Kaken, wait up, Izuku shouted as he began to climb the hill as fast as his little legs would take him. We're heroes, Katsuki yelled down the hill to Izuku. We don't wait, we have to go find villains and beat them up. I don't have my quirk yet, so I can't climb like you can, Izuku argued. It was true. Katsuki had used his recently discovered explosive quirk to make himself get launched up the hill. Katsuki nodded and stopped. I guess you're right. I'm waiting here for you, Izuku. Okay, Izuku nodded as he worked his way up the step hill to his friend. Once he got to the top, he stood next to Katsuki. I'm here, Kaken. It's Katsuki, Izuku. Katsuki. Katsuki repeated his name. Kaken is easier to say, Izuku stated. But my hero name isn't going to be Kaken. If the villains hear you call me that when we fight them, they will laugh at me, Katsuki said. The green-haired boy had an idea. No, they'll think we are not taking them seriously. And they will be afraid of us. They'll think we are so tough that we don't take it seriously. Katsuki nodded. That's genius, we're already tough, so this will make us look tougher. Right, Izuku grinned. Katsuki pointed to the trees. Let's go find the villains and kick their butts. Izuku looked at Katsuki differently than he just had. He now had a look of recognition. Kaken, Izuku spoke, almost uncertain of saying it. Katsuki whipped around at hearing the name he had banned people from calling him after Izuku was kidnapped. His crimson eyes were locked on Izuku's own emerald ones. What did you just say, Katsuki asked. Izuku's eyes started to turn red because he was beginning to well up from remembering his old best friend. I remember Kaken. Katsuki immediately grabbed Izuku in a tight hug. He finally had his friend back after so many years. After a little bit they separated, Katsuki letting go. It's good to have you back. Katsuki spoke first. I don't remember everything, Izuku said. I only remember pieces, and don't ruin the cool moments again, man. Katsuki said. I'm just glad you remember I used to be your friend at the least. Later we should talk, but I am going to set my stuff down in my room and we all have to go downstairs for that whatever this Yaoyorozu chick wanted. Okay, Izuku nodded. Katsuki patted Izuku's shoulders. It's good to have you back. I'll see you in a few minutes. He began to go up the stairs, happier than he has been in a while. Izuku went down the stairs to the commons and immediately someone called him out. Midoriya, that girl whose name was Pony, shouted as she ran up to him. We're in the same class, she stated happily. Are you popular with everyone or something? A silver-haired guy asked Izuku. He saved my life, Pony stated. He stopped at 0-pointer and went pow. At this point, Pony did a punching motion right to its face. That sounds cool, but I doubt it did anything. A black-haired guy with peculiar elbows said. Those things are massive, and Present Mike even said they are unbeatable. Do you even know who this is? Right here, the blonde with the black streak in his hair said. This is Izuku Midoriya. I saw him make a giant spike or whatever from his bones and make a hole straight through the 0-pointer's entire head. He did indeed do that. A blue-haired teen with glasses said. I saw it myself. It was a powerful attack. The silver-haired guy leaned back in his chairs. Well, hell, that must have been a sight to see. A girl with black hair tied in a spiky bun looked around the commons. Is everyone one here? We're missing just one or two, I think. The kid with glasses said. I'm here, don't flip out, Katsuki said as he entered the commons and made sure he stayed near Izuku. That's everyone now, isn't it? Pony asked. Let's just give them a few minutes and then check. The pink girl said. I would have liked a few more minutes to finish up. Okay, we shall wait a few more minutes, the blue-haired teen announced. Izuku sat down at a table that also had the black-haired girl across from him. Izuku didn't say anything at first. The black-haired girl looked at the guy across the table from her and thought that he was definitely cute, despite how unalive his eyes looked and how dead his facial expression seemed. "Hi, I am Momoge Yarazu." She greeted him and held her arm out. Izuku accepted the hand and shook it. "Izuku Midoriya. May I ask why that name sounds familiar?" the pink girl asked. "I don't want to talk about it," Izuku answered. All they had to do was look up his name and they would know a whole lot. "Mina, Izuku is the kid of Spitfire," Ijiro said to the pink girl that was now identified as Mina. Ijiro hoped that just saying that part will make Mina know the other part, the part Izuku didn't want to speak of. Mina, thankfully, realized who Izuku really is off of that. Oh, she looked at Izuku differently, not scared of him but like she felt bad, which she did because his childhood sucked. "Sorry, it's fine," Izuku replied. He wasn't upset, he just didn't want to be treated like a freak because of what he thought made him close to one. Someone came down the stairs at that moment. It was a guy with short light brown hair and brown eyes. He looked at everyone with hidden disdain. "Hello," Pony waved to the newcomer. The guy only replied with a turn of his head in her direction. Pony figured he must be shy. The guy scanned the room for his mission. Finding Izuku, he planned to keep an eye on him. "That means just one more person is missing," the blue-haired teen stated. "Who's the person?" Katsuki asked as he leaned back in his seat. Momo sighed when she realized who was missing. "I know who it is. I will be right back." She got up to go find the girl. She tapped on the door and hoped that the girl inside would actually answer the knock. She did, and the door was opened. The girl's heterochromic eyes focused on Momo. What she asked with a lack of emotion. "Todoroki, we're meeting as a class," Momo said. She had met Shoko Todoroki during their recommendation exams, and Shoko was not really friendly. She wasn't mean or rude by any means. She was just a shut-in who didn't seem to care about others. "Is it required?" Shoko asked. "No, but you should still meet the class," Momo said. "They all are your classmates and now people you live around." Shoko looked like she was about to say no, but opened the door more and exited her room. "I'm leaving once I am able to." "That's fine, I guess," Momo replied. All 20 people were now in the commons, gathered around the 5 tables that could seat 4 of them each. Izuku was at a table that had him, Katsuki, Ijiro and Pony. "Okay, so how do we do this?" a girl that had what seemed like permanent blush asked. "Why not just everyone one by one introduce themselves?" Momo offered. "We can say our names, what our quirks are and some things about ourselves. We could even say our goals as heroes or things like that." Shoko was looking at Izuku, trying to decipher why he looked so familiar. "Sounds like something 3rd graders do," Katsuki said. "Why don't you go first then?" Momo said to the blonde. "Okay, I'm Katsuki Bakugo," the blonde started. "My quirk is called Explosion and secretes sweat with nitroglycerin and a few other chemicals that allow me to make explosions from my hands or the bottoms of my feet. I am set on becoming a hero because I want to prevent anything happening like what happened to my old best friend." Katsuki finished. "What happened to them?" the pink girl Mina asked. "The Spitfire incident," Katsuki answered, letting anyone who knew what he was talking about know he meant Izuku. "All right, someone else go." Pony jumped up. "I'm Pony Tsunotori. I love anime and manga. I was born in America and I'm a transfer student here. My quirk is called Horn Cannon. I can shoot my horns like projectiles and control them in the air, and they regrew fast and I can control up to 4 at a time." "Can you stand on them while moving them?" Ijiro asked. Pony looked confused. "I never thought of that. If you can, then that means you have a way of flying," Katsuki pointed out. Pony got excited. "Oh my gosh, that would be so awesome." She started speaking English at the end. What? Katsuki looked confused. "Speak Japanese, please." Pony then looked embarrassed. "Sorry, when I get excited I sometimes revert back to English." "It's cool." Ijiro waved it off. "Just don't trash talk us in English," Katsuki joked. "I would never." Pony shook her head. "You two are too nice." "Thanks, but we should really get back to class introductions." Ijiro smiled, then decided that it was his turn. "I am Ijiro Kirishima. My quirk is called Harden. I can make myself hard as a rock and brush off attacks. It also packs a big punch. I enjoy those old Western films and I want to be a hero like Crimson Riot." The silver-haired guy raised his hand. "Well, hold up. Your quirk makes you insanely hard." Ijiro thought the guy was about to make an inappropriate joke about it. "Yeah," the silver-haired guy started to laugh. "Dude, my quirk makes me turn to steel. Our quirk are the same, man, look." The silver-haired teen began to turn to steel, the silver-like material shining and moving with his movements. This is either a huge coincidence or the universe made perfect sparring partners on purpose. "My name is Tetsu. That's a mouthful." Ijiro grinned. "You totally gotta believe we are training partners now." "Does that count as his introduction?" Katsuki asked. "It does now," Tetsu stated. "I'm next then," a bird-headed boy said. "I am Fumikage Takoyami. My quirk is Dark Shadow, a sentient being that is my shadow." A shadowy form erupted from his and did a wave. "I am Dark Shadow," the shadow said. It's so cute, Pony said as she tried to pet it. I am not cute, Dark Shadow protested. I am a being of darkness. He's adorable, Pony said as she patted its head. Dark Shadow just accepting the girl's actions. Deciding to take their turn, a blind kid spoke. I am Denki Kaminari, my quirk is electricity and I also like anime. Bro, same. The kid with the odd elbows said. I'm Hanta Zero. My quirk is that I can make tape come from these things on my elbows that are sticky enough that I can swing around on them if I want. Dude, that's awesome, you're like that one early age hero from America, the New York one. Denki said. Hanta grinned. I actually want to be like him. My style is actually based on his. Moving on, a teen with pale yellow-green skin and a bright, fluffy green mohawk said. He had 2 hooked blades jutting out from either of his cheeks, no visible nose, and the shape of his head along with the blades made his head resemble that of an insect with mandibles. I'm Tagaru Kamakiri. My quirk is called Razor Sharp and I can make blades come out of my body at any point. I enjoy collecting insects. Wait, you can make blades? Denki asked. That's cool, and just like how he can use his bones, Denki pointed to Izuku. Tagaru looked at Izuku and realized who Izuku was. You're Izuku Midoriya. Izuku didn't want the attention, but he knew it was inevitable. I am. How is he known? Hanta asked, looking confused. You don't know? Tagaru looked surprised. The Spitfire incident. Sorry, I don't. Hanta said. What exactly happened? My parents got murdered and a man kidnapped me to use me as a weapon because of my... Izuku said with no emotions. He decided it would be easier to just say it right there and hope people leave him alone about it. Everyone was actually quiet because it felt so off-putting how he spoke of what happened. I'm sorry if Hanta tried to apologize. You're fine. Izuku cut him off. You didn't know. What exactly does your do? Pony asked. Because I thought your bones were your quirk. I can hold more quirks than anybody else. Everyone's is meant to carry just their quirk's DNA, but mine allows me to have many. The man forced the others into. Izuku paused, taking a breath because getting that close to talking about the compound was enough to make him panic slightly. Katsuki saw that Izuku was trying to not flip his kid, so he put a hand on Izuku's shoulder. You don't need to talk about it. Tagaru nodded. You don't need to explain to us. Shoko suddenly realized how she knew Izuku, a far-off memory of a park entering her mind. Are you okay? Shoko ran up to the green-haired boy upside down in the dirt. She had just saw him fall out of the tree he was next to. The boy looked up at Shoko. His eyes widened a little. You're beautiful. Shoko got really confused. What? The boy rolled over into his stomach and stood up. Eye level with the girl. He was looking into her dual-colored eyes. One was gray and one was turquoise. I said you're beautiful. Sorry. Shoko remembered what the words meant, hearing her mother talk about flowers that were beautiful before. A blush forming in her face. It's okay. She did like his wild emerald green hair and equally green eyes. Plus his smile was really nice. So you are fine. The boy rubbed the dirt off of his knees. Yep, I'm Izuku Midoriya. He put his hand out towards her. Shoko looked at the boy a few tables away from her, who had changed drastically since they had last saw each other. His large smile was replaced with a blank expression, and his eyes that were so full of life and happiness were full and emotionless. I'll go next, Mina said, wanting to make the room cheerful again. I am Mina Ashido. My quirk lets me secrete acid from my body that can either be highly dangerous or about as dangerous as a cup of water. I love puzzles and I am an amazing dancer. Mina's attempt to get more people focused on something other than Izuku worked. A small girl with brown hair and a shape similar to a mushroom cap that covered her eyes spoke. I'm Kanoko Komori, she said nervously. My quirk lets me create mushroom spores that grow really fast. I can make a lot of mushrooms. She stopped talking, feeling too nervous to continue. I'm Ochako Uraraka, the girl with permanent blush said. My quirk lets anything I touch with these pads. She showed her fingertips, which were covered with pink pads of skin. I can remove their gravity until I press my hands and the pads together. I have a limit because I get queasy. My idol is number 13 and I want to be a rescue hero like her. 13 is the one with the black hole quirk, right? Pony asked. Yep, she's amazing, Pony said. We go off topic way too easily, Tagaru stated. Let everyone say their own part before you guys veer off on your side conversations. I am Tenya Ida, the blue-haired guy started. My quirk is the engines in my calves that boost my speed. I want to be a hero that upholds the high standards that all heroes should hold. Momo went next. I am Momoye Yurazu. My quirk is creation. Using the lipids on my body, I can create anything if I know its molecular layout and how it functions. I enjoy reading just about anything. Can you make a gun? Hanta asked. Momo nodded. Don't make a gun, Katsuki said as he looked at Hanta and Denki. Those two might be the troublemakers of this class. Denki and Hanta looked at each other and nodded. He isn't wrong, Denki said. Nothing but facts, Hanta agreed. Next was the girl with purple hair and odd earlobes that had aux cords at the ends. She was twirling one around her fingers. I'm Kyoka Gyro. My quirk is my ear aux cords. I can use the jacks to increase my hearing a lot, hear through things like whole buildings. I can also send my heartbeat through them as an attack. I like music and especially rock. Rock is good. Ijiro nodded. Next was a girl who had long green hair she had tied up in a bow. I'm Tsuyuasui. My quirk is called Frog and I can do a lot of the same things as a frog. I want to be a good water-type hero. Ribbit. Was that ribbit because of you talking about being like a frog so you said it as a joke, or do you actually ribbit sometimes? Denki asked. I ribbit sometimes. Tsuyu nodded. I'm Huryu Rin. Huryu made his introduction. My quirk is called Scales and allows me to sprout strong, durable reptilian scales from my skin. They can act like armor, but I can also shoot them really hard at things. I'm originally from China and I love sushi. Next was a guy with a tail that looked similar to a lion's. I'm Mashiro Ajiro. My quirk is my tail that I can control like a limb. It helps in my combat style, which is martial arts. My goal is to be a martial arts master. Shoko decided to speak next. I'm Shoko Todoroki. My quirk is that I can create ice from the right side of my body. She didn't say anything else but looked at Izuku again, them looking eyes for a second before Pony moved in her seat and blocked their lines of sight. Izuku wondered why Shoko looked familiar to him. Momo looked at the final person, the brown-haired boy. I believe you are last. Kiyotaka Akitmitsu. The boy said his name before leaving. That was kinda rude. Denki stated. What's the point of staying here the whole time just to say your name then leave? Hanta asked the group. Is there anything else anyone wants to say? Momo asked. Izuku didn't want to say it, but he knew he would have a mental episode eventually. And he should let them know. Because of what I went through, I suffer some mental episodes that make my head hurt badly and I end up falling over screaming and my bones go off randomly. Everyone looked at him worried. Is there a way to help you? Pony asked. Izuku shook his head hard. Don't try to help me during it, please. I lose control of my senses and my bones spike out around me. Just stay back until I get over it, please. Katsuki felt anger at the man who did this to Izuku. If Maruta wasn't already dead, Katsuki would want to make sure he was. Anything else? Momo asked as she looked at everyone. No one added anything, so she spoke again. That's it, I guess. Everyone can do their own thing now. Tetsu and Tagaru quickly picked up their table and moved it right up to the table that Izuku, Katsuki, Pony, and Ijiro were at. The two other people who were at that table, Huryu and Kinoko, looked confused. Join us, Tetsu said to the two who looked confused. What's this? Ijiro asked, confused as well. This is a tradition of first days, Tagaru said. This is how we pick the group, Tetsu added. We went to middle school together. On the first day we would find people we thought were interesting and bam, group is made. So you chose us 6? Katsuki asked. Tagaru nodded. Definitely. Everyone here seems cool. I'm cool. Kinoko sounded like she doubted that heavily. If you weren't before, you are now, Pony said. New friends, this is exciting. Katsuki looked at everyone in the group. I'm fine with this. Are you fine with this? Midoriya Ijiro looked at Izuku. He didn't want someone he wanted to be friends with get forced into a group. I don't know, Izuku responded. You can join anytime you want, Tetsu stated. He really didn't want to mess with Izuku. He felt bad for the guy. Wait, so does that make you two the leaders? Huryu asked Tetsu and Tagaru. We led by rules of the alpha, toughest is leader, Tetsu stated. And we're both hotheads, so it flip-flops. I don't think you're the toughest in this group, Katsuki said. And you think it's you? Tetsu showed his headedness rather quickly. If anyone, it's Midori, Pony stated. Midori. Izuku looked confused. Yep, it's my new nickname for you. Pony nodded. Save my life, get a nickname. If he isn't in the group, does he qualify as toughest? Tagaru asked. He's definitely toughest in the class. Pony defended her opinion. Well, the whole class Hanta overheard, making everyone else in the class look as well. Everyone was still in the commons but Kiyotaka. That is a bold statement, Denki said. He can use his bones as weapons, Pony argued. Yaoyorozu can make a gun, Denki pointed out. Bang bang, she can beat us all. I've been shot before, Izuku said, and everyone looked at him in shock. You have? Ochako sounded freaked out. Izuku started to have flashbacks to the compound. The night when he fought back and got freed. The night I got freed, I couldn't take it anymore and fought back. They tried using lethal force to out me back in my cell. Katsuki immediately put a hand on Izuku's shoulder, something he was glad he quickly found out helped steady Izuku. You don't have to talk about it. That does ruin your whole point though, Hanta said to Denki. Tenya immediately stood up and spoke. Why don't we have a friendly competition to see who is the toughest here? Tetsu immediately jumped up. Hell yeah, no quirks, just straight fighting. Tetsu, Ijiro and Tagaru began to move a table. Not here, Kyoka snapped. Find a gym or do it outside. We're literally just doing fisticuffs, Tetsu said. How destructive do you think we are? Destructive enough, Kyoka said. There are spare rooms, Izuku stated. One can be used for that. Tetsu smacked Izuku on the back lightly. Man has a good point. Let's make a room just for that. Mina, who was closest to the paper with the room's mapping sheet, looked at it. There is a spare room on the girls' side right by the stairs on the second floor if that works. It's right next to mine. Are we making a fight club? Denki asked. Don't talk about it, Tetsu said, gaining a bit of laughter from the people who got the joke. There should be ground rules, Tenya said. You work those out, Toguru said. You seem more responsible than us. Tetsu nodded. I believe we need a teacher's permission, so I shall go to the main building to ask. Tenya went for the door. The door opened before he got to it, and in walked a tired-looking man with messy black hair, an odd scarf, and a black outfit. Oh, hello, Tenya said. The man sighed. I am Shota Aizawa. I'm your homeroom teacher. I'm just making sure that all of you are here now and doing okay. Momo nodded. We are all here. Akitmitsu just went upstairs, but the rest of us are here. Shota looked around the commons at the kids, not really lingering on any of them. That is good. If you need me, I will be at the building meant for the staff. Actually, we do have a question, Tetsu said. Yes, we do. Tenya nodded. Shota sighed, wanting to leave. What is it? Will it be okay if we set up one of the spare rooms here as a training room for spars, but no quirks will be used? Tenya said. Shota looked at Tenya for a few solid seconds, and then he sighed. I guess, as long as no quirks are used and you don't break anything or each other, it will be fine. If you use quirks, it will be banned. If you want to do anything besides light spars, begin to use the gyms and training areas on campus. They all open up starting after classes tomorrow. Shota then left. That's our sensei, Mina asked once he was gone. He seems tired, Denki stated. You heard him, we can make a sparring room, Tetsu said. Why don't you guys just wait for an official gym tomorrow so you guys can go all out, Katsuki said. Are you guys afraid of our quirks? PSSH, my blades are untouchable, Toguru said. Midori made a blade from his arm and shoulder bone at the exams. Pony said. Denki remembered Izuku doing that right before their exam. What was it that you said? Tsubaki no Mai. It means dance of the camellia, Izuku answered. It's one of my dances. Dances, Ijiro raised an eyebrow. That's what I call my fighting styles. Izuku had started calling them dances after Rumi commented that his movements during them could be so fluid like a dance. It hurts to do my dances. How does it hurt? Pony asked. The Tsubaki no Mai uses my shoulder blade and upper arm bones as the blade. Using my actual bones hurts because they need replaced instantly by other bones I can create. During the Tsubaki no Mai, I use my upper body in a way that is too exhausting if I do it for too long. Was that drill bone a dance? Pony asked. Izuku nodded. It's the ken that hurts the most. It's called my Tessenka no Mai. Hana, or dance of the clematis flower. The drill spins really fast and tears apart anything touching it, except the bones in my arm that can go through it like water. Wait, so you were tearing your arm apart saving me? Pony felt guilty. I thought you just punched it really hard or something. I was made to take a super regeneration quirk, Izuku said. I can heal back from it. Your metal is shit, Kyoka commented. I'm metal. Izuku got confused. He wasn't the one who could have their skin turn into steel. Kyoka got confused when Izuku was confused. Do you not know what being metal means? I don't think I know your definition. Izuku shook his head. Oh, Kyoka wanted to smack herself over the head. Everyone was starting to guess that Izuku's lack of a normal childhood meant most sayings and such would go over his head. It means you're hardcore. Oh, Izuku thought he got it. Thank you. Alright, this means that if quirks are involved, it should be a given that Midoriya beats us all, Hanta said. What gun? Denki pointed at Yaoyorozu. It would be easier if we knew all of Midoriya's quirks to determine that, Ada said. But you don't have to talk about them if you don't want to. Tenya also knew it would be better to not make the kid have to go back to that place in his memories for the list of quirks. Izuku appreciated that everyone was letting him say as much as he wanted on his quirks, not trying to force it out of him. These people were a lot nicer than others he had met. I can say them. It's not like they already said my powers before. Without my being counted, I have the 3 quirks fused together that make my bone quirk called skeletal control, super strength and speed, enhanced reflexes, enhanced senses, super regeneration, a energy stockpiling quirk, and my dad's flame breath. Yeah, he wins a quirk-based fight, Hanta said to Denki. What gun? Denki repeated his earlier statement. You have your father's flame breath, Katsuki asked. When he first found out about my quirk, he had the theory and had some stored with his quirk, Izuku explained. I got it a few days ago. Wait, so you said earlier using your real bones hurt? Tetsu started. Do you not use real bones sometimes? Because of the energy stockpiling quirk, I can use that energy to make more bone matter, and I have a thin layer right under my skin. My real bones are denser and stronger, so they are used for my dances, but for the most part I use the outer layer for non-dance attacks. Not trying to make you do it or anything, but can you make a bone right now, Huryu asked. I really want to see it at this point. I guess, Izuku said as they all saw his skin rip open on its own on his left forearm and a bone start to stick out. That looks painful. Mina did not like seeing that. Doesn't that hurt? Ijiro asked. After being tortured for a decade, this is fine. Izuku bothered them again with how he said it. He removed the bone and placed it on the table, the bone decaying quickly. Anyways, Tetsu decided that they should talk about something else. Without quirks though, I feel like I got this top dog position. Nope, Katsuki said. I'm taking that. Tagaru put his own hat in the ring. It's neither of you. I claim that title. I still say Midori. Pony said. Yeah, he definitely would whoop everyone hand to hand. Hanta agreed. I would like to put my name on the table for any sparring because I would like to think I can get that title also. Mashirao said. Me too, Ijiro grinned. Let's all do this right now. Tetsu went for the stairs. Tagaru, Katsuki, Ijiro and Mashirao following. The rest of the guys began to go as well. Izuku didn't follow, however, staying in his seat, and Hanta looked at him. You coming, Midoriya? I can later. Izuku said. I am going to my room for now. All right, man, Hanta said as he went back to following the guys. Izuku got up and made for his room. It took the boys in our class not even an hour of being around each other to make a fight club, Mina said once all of the guys left. Midori didn't join it, but I know he can fight them all easily. Pony stated. Do you have a thing for Midoriya? Kyoka asked. You have been acting like a cheerleader for a while. Pony shook her head. No, he just saved me from a robot and he looks like he needs support. I am going to be that support. So you are his cheerleader, Kyoka said. Yep, Pony smiled. Were you asking because you have a thing for him? Kyoka gave Pony a look. No, I've known him for all of 30 minutes. While they were talking, Momo noticed that Shoko was still there. I thought you were going to take the first chance to leave. Momo raised an eyebrow. Did you find something interesting enough to stay here? Shoko did. Izuku was definitely interesting. I decided to learn about the people I would be around than to just hide in my room. Momo smiled. You should stay here with us then. Talk a little more. Shoko shook her head, standing up and leaving without another word. Momo sighed. She really wanted to get that girl out of her shell. Should we see which one of the guys ends up winning? Ochako asked. It might be funny to see some of them get knocked over. Kyoka nodded. As then the girls all decided to go see the sudden fight club. Izuku sat on his bed as he opened the box. Today he would finally go through the whole box. He wouldn't stop just because it made him sad. Opening it up all the way, he took the multiple photos and letters that people had left and put them beside him. Below where the photos were was a smaller black box, with a lock on it that had the key still in. Izuku pulled it out and unlocked the box, revealing an orange-trimmed green metallic gauntlet that was right-handed. The gauntlet had slots in the back on the forearm where nozzles and cords and pipes looked like they fit in, as well as holes on the knuckles on the other end of those slots. It was his father's glove from his hero days. Seeing the glove made him remember another memory. Dad, why does your glove have these? The small child asked as he tugged on his father's hero suit parts. Hisashi got Izuku to stop tugging it. Oh, this will, my quirk only lets me breath fire out of my mouth. This way with my hero suit I can just breathe into this mouthpiece. Hisashi pointed his arm outwards as he put his mouth on a piece of his suit, and breath out my flames over my fist. Hisashi unleashed his flames and they came out of the other side of the hose and out of his gauntlet above his head. That's awesome, Izuku exclaimed as he watched the flames. Will I get flames like that? Maybe, Hisashi said. Your quirk hasn't appeared yet, so it could be anything. I want to breathe fire, Izuku stated. It is fun. Hisashi nodded. Izuku looked at the glove again. It had rust around some edges and he doubted he could fix it himself. Putting it back in its box, he set it aside and decided to see if he can have someone at the school fix it tomorrow. Checking the big box again, he found a jewelry box of his mother's. Opening it, he saw that at least half of everything was missing if the 2 items left in it were anything to go by. Izuku held up a ring and realized it was an engagement ring, his mother's. He put it back carefully and looked at the necklace, a simple silver chain with a smooth emerald on it. Putting the jewelry box on his desk, he looked in the box and found the final item in there, a green scarf. Taking it out, he tried to remember anything he could. Hoping another memory would just surface and make him remember any meaning to it, he couldn't. Izuku grabbed the photos and began to go through them, hoping to find out whose it was exactly when he found a photo with the scarf. It was him and his parents in costumes, he being in a onesie of his father's outfit while his dad had on what looked like a version of All Might's costume. The scarf was on his mother, who had a green jumpsuit with black lines going up and down it. He remembered a memory again. Mom, what hero are you? Izuku tugged on his mother's leg to get her attention. It was Halloween and the Midoriyas were going to a costume party at the Bakugos. Oh, this is a running joke me and Mitsuki have. Inko said, this was going to be my hero outfit if I made it. I say you would have made a fine hero. Hisashi said, grinning. Your body can certainly kill. Inko blushed and playfully smacked her husband's shoulder. I didn't want to be a violent hero, Sashi. I wanted to be a rescue hero. You still would have been terrific. Hisashi replied. You would have been awesome, Izuku agreed. The scarf was his mother's. Izuku held it tighter. He wrapped it carefully around his neck, deciding it should be part of his hero costume to honor his mother. He would do the same with his father's gauntlet. Even if Izuku wasn't right-handed, he would still use that same glove. Izuku pulled out the phone Rumi got him and called her. A ring later she picked up. "Hi," Izuku said quietly. "Hey Izu, are you settling in good? Are the others okay?" Rumi asked. "They are nice. Everyone is being considerate about my past," Izuku answered. "That's good. I was wondering if I was going to beat up some teenagers." Rumi joked. They made a sparring room and everyone talked about who would win in a fight. Izuku told her, "They better have realized you can probably take them all on." Rumi chuckled. "This one girl can make anything she thinks of and this guy said she can just make a gun and beat us all." Izuku retold the events. "That is convenient, but you can heal from bullets, so that's a. Unless she can make a tank, you're fine." "I don't want to fight them," Izuku said. "Friendly spars." Izu. Rumi sighed. "Not every fight is a fight to destroy someone. Sometimes it's just a spar for practice. You should know this. We did those all the time." "Right. Sorry." Izuku apologized. "Tell me about your new friend." "That redhead. That's Kirishima," Izuku began. "So I think it is established that I am two dog here now," Katsuki announced as Tetsu picked himself up from the mat. Whatever." Tetsu put out his hand. "Hell of a fighter though." "PSSH, I know. I spent my entire life training to fight so I can get to my goal," Katsuki said. "Number one hero or something like that?" Togaru asked as Hanta and Denki got in the ring they made. By drawing a square in the middle of the room, Mashiro refereeing. "No, it was Izuku," Katsuki said. "I wanted to save him when it all happened and set my sights on getting strong enough to beat the hell out of the man that took him." "You were friends with Midoriya before that?" Tenya asked. "Was he different than?" Denki asked. "Right before Hanta flipped him. He was happier, but you can't blame him for how he is," Katsuki said. "If anyone messes with him I will kick their ass. Who here is big enough to mess with Midoriya like that?" Tetsu said. "I'll fight them too," Anjiro said. "He doesn't deserve to get shit on. Let's all just make an agreement to kick the asses of anyone who mess with Midoriya," Togaru said. "We're the Midoriya Defense Squad now." Katsuki grinned. "Not what I thought our group name would be, but it is definitely a good one," Tetsu said. "Wait, where is the guy?" "He went to his room." Hanta pinned Denki. Speaking while doing it, Denki got out of the pin and reversed it. "So does this count as a meeting for the group?" Togaru asked. "Yep. Rule number 1 is kick the ass of anyone disrespecting Izuku," Katsuki said. "You went from seemingly calm and nice to aggressive," Mashiro pointed out. "I'm that serious about this," Katsuki said. A knock happened at the door and Pony opened it up, making her entrance. "I want in the fight club," Pony shouted. "We're not a fight club anymore," Tetsu said as he took a swig of water. "We're the Midoriya Defense Squad." "I want in that more," Pony stated. "You guys jump topics fast," Kyoka said as she followed Pony in. "We're just guys being dudes." Denki shrugged. "Watch the flip," Hanta exclaimed before he flipped Denki over him. "Aw," Denki said in surprise as he went through the air. "Hey, no throwing each other," Tenya scolded. "That's rule number 14. "My bad," Hanta said sheepishly as he helped Denki off the ground. Later it was time for dinner and every dorm building had food brought in for the first 4 days for the student. Everyone was now back in the commons and talking at their own tables, except for Tenya, who was relaying the news about their food situation. "So after 4 days we gotta start our own list and such for groceries," Tenya announced, everyone letting him take control for the most part. "At least they got us pizza tonight." Hanta smiled as he took a slice. "It says right here that we can write a list that can be taken to the main building to a staff member who can order the food for us." Momo had the paper now. "As long as it is reasonable we can do it that way. Just put down spicy food once in a while," Katsuki said. "Helps my quirk." "It would be smart to put down things that could help our quirks." Tetsu nodded. "Put down things with high iron. I'm not picky." Momo was jotting down requests from everyone. "So have you two just become the leaders of the class today?" Kyoka looked at Tenya and Momo. "It works so far," Katsuki said. "And making it the strongest person wouldn't necessarily be smart if that person isn't a natural leader. So you added on." "Yeah, you two are fine as class reps," Ijiro said. "If we do have a selection process, let's just make it you two since it is natural for you guys." Momo blushed. "Thanks for the position." "I shall hold the position with honor," Tenya declared. "Hold that enthusiasm and keep it going well," Ijiro said. Momo looked at Izuku, who was silently eating at what was his spot now at a table with Ijiro, Pony, and Katsuki. "Midoriya, do you need anything for your quirks for the list?" "Milk," Izuku answered quietly. Momo nodded and wrote down extra milk. She turned to Kiyotaka. "Do you need anything?" Akutmitsu. Kiyotaka shook his head, not saying a word. He didn't plan on making friends with this entitled people. He only had one reason to even be there, and that reason was sitting 3 tables away from him. "Hey Midoriya, can we spar after this?" Togaru asked. "Not with your bones or my blades, just hands and feet please." Izuku nodded. "Excellent. I want to see if my own reflexives are up to your super reflexives." "Where did you get the scarf?" Midori Pony asked as she looked at the green scarf Izuku had. "It's my mom's," Izuku answered. "I found it in a box." "It's pretty," Pony said. "I like it," Izuku replied. Okay, hear me out, guys. Denki started. Midoriya's quirks are really cool and strong, so I gotta ask, how many of us do you think he could take on at once? Probably like 4 of us at most. Tetsu said. No one can really take on that many people all at once. Hanta said. Maybe a few. I took out every guard at the compound by myself. Izuku said, not realizing how off-putting it was for the others to hear him say that. Kyoka's eyes were a little wide with worry. Man, we gotta teach you to not say weird things like that. Ijiro said. Sorry. Izuku apologized. Don't apologize. Katsuki said. You're fine. It's just off-putting sometimes when you say things that aren't normal. Especially that. Sorry. Izuku apologized again. Stop apologizing, you're fine. Katsuki looked a little annoyed. Izuku wanted to say sorry again because he felt guilty about it, but instead he just nodded. Okay, Midoriya. First one to get 3 strikes on the others, Toguro said as they stood across from each other, having taken to the ring now. Okay. Izuku nodded. Avoid the crotch and other areas though. Tenya said. Money on Midoriya. Denki looked at Kyoka and Tsuyu next to him. We shouldn't gamble, Tsuyu stated. Any stipulations, Midoriya? Toguro asked. I don't want to accidentally hit a sensitive area from your Toguro didn't really want to say from Izuku's days of being tortured. I'm fine, Izuku said, taking off his scarf carefully. He turned to Katsuki. Can you hold this? Sure. Katsuki held the scarf. Is anyone just now noticing Midoriya has been barefoot all day? Hiryu asked. Oh, he is. Hanta nodded. Okay, let's do this, Toguro said. Don't go easy, Midoriya, but don't kill me. No simple jabs, let's have a good fight. Okay. Izuku nodded as he slid his right leg forward and held his right arm out at Toguro while he held his left up towards his chin. Begin, Tenya said. Toguro moved first, rushing in while Izuku followed the insect-like kid with his eyes. Toguro went for a strike, but Izuku dropped straight down, twisting as he did and swinging a fist sideways into Togoro's side. Oh shit, you swing hard, Toguro said as he took a step back. Sorry, Izuku apologized. Don't apologize for being strong, Toguro said. That just makes this more exciting. He went back at Izuku, trying to place multiple strikes, but Izuku blocked each one fluidly, not wasting a single movement before he brought his knee up into Togoro's, making it his second strike. I can see why his other fighting is called dancing if this is anything like them, Kyoka commented. Everything is smooth. Toguro felt like Izuku's reflexives were definitely superior to his, but he wouldn't quit. Going back, and he decided to sweep Izuku's legs, succeeding as he did, but before he could have Izuku's, the boy twisted himself in the air, bouncing off of blocking from Toguro and rolling backwards on the floor before jumping back up. I feel like you could have gotten your strike in during that, Toguro stated. I would have fallen doing it, Izuku responded. It would have been unwise. Anyone notice how he has way more confidence sparring than any other time? Denki asked. Getting an elbow from Kyoka, Izuku was about to move again towards Toguro for the offensive, but his vision became splotches of black and white, his head searing in intense pain. Izuku yelped as he fell over, clutching his head, and everyone jumped back when his bones spiked out like Izuku had warned them. Everyone was wide-eyed at it before Izuku got quiet and slumped slightly against the ground, a few bones falling off and decaying rapidly. Izuku sat upright once he could, not looking at anyone because he felt embarrassed of what just happened. You good now, man? Tetsu asked. Izuku nodded. Katsuki walked over to him and handed Izuku his scarf. Thinking it might help him at that moment. Let's call it for sparring tonight, Toguro said, not planning on taking disagreements from anyone. Maybe something good is on TV right now. Some of the kids had decided to go to their rooms at that point. The ones who went to the commons were Katsuki, Mina, Ijiro, Tetsu, Toguro, Hiryu, Tenya, Kinoko, who had decided to start a garden outside, Pony, Momo, and Kyoka. Izuku had decided to go to his room despite the others saying they wanted him there. I know he told us those happened, but seeing it was definitely uncomfortable, Kyoka said, talking about Izuku's mental episode. I know, Hiryu nodded. I wanted to help him at something, but he asked us not to because of the bones. It sounded like it hurt him a lot. Momo added, there has to be some way to help him. As his classmates, it should be our duty to make sure that we can help him if there is a way, or to find a way in which to help, Tenya stated. So is this the full roster of the Midoriya defense squad now? Katsuki asked as he looked at everyone. Definitely, Mina nodded. He seems too sweet for that stuff. Even if he sometimes comes off as weird, he can't help that, Ijiro said. You know what happened to him. Best we can do is just let him know we are here and willing to help, and kick the ass of anyone who tries the opposite, Katsuki stated. Who's evil enough to want to harm Midoriya? Kyoka asked. All for One looked at the 2 canisters. Months ago, when he had his Namu take some of Izuku Midoriya's, he only had enough that he could make one perfect Namu. As cute, I called it. All for One changed his mind before they could make that Namu, thinking it would be better in the future if they could have a safeguard if Izuku might find himself on the road of recovery, which it seems he has. Now All for One had 2 serums, made with the entirety of Izuku's that he had at his disposal. One he called the Mark of the Earth and the other was the Mark of the Sky. Combinations of quirks housed in that would, when injected into a person, would join their stream and become part of that person. All for One was glad he had collected multiple small quirks over his long life, some of which seemed pointless to have until now, where they made the perfect mind-corrupting parts of his marks. He already knew who would receive the Mark of the Earth. If he wanted Izuku and that boys, he would have to corrupt him to his side. However, the Mark of the Sky was still something of a predicament to All for One. He wouldn't use it on his successor. No, he couldn't risk the harm if the mark on him. The marks could very well kill whomever they are placed upon, and he couldn't risk his successor. He would just have to wait for his pair of eyes to let him know if any candidates exist at UA. It was the first day of classes and everyone had begun to filter downstairs for breakfast. Izuku had put on his school outfit except for the tie, not actually knowing how to tie it. Instead, he went with wrapping his mom's scarf around his neck. Going down the stairs, he saw most of the class had gotten downstairs and had started to eat food made by Katsuki and Tsuyu. "You guys made food?" Denki asked as he walked by Izuku. "Yeah." Katsuki slid a plate down the counter so Denki can grab it. "Figured we could start with the food prepping ourselves immediately. I cooked for my little siblings all the time so it's fine." Tsuyu said, "I enjoy cooking." "Izuku, your plate is coming," Katsuki said as he moved some eggs onto a plate. "Thank you," Izuku said quietly as he took the plate and went to his same spot he had the day before. Pony and Ijiro were also in their same spots as was everyone else. "Midori, why aren't you wearing shoes?" Pony looked at Izuku's bare feet. "I don't like shoes," Izuku answered as he picked at his pancakes. "I like sandals." "Those wooden ones you had on at the exams?" Ijiro asked. "They look clunky." "I like them," Izuku replied. "Well, why don't you have them now?" Pony asked. "I forget to wear them," Izuku answered. "I will get them before class." Shoto wanted to sigh when Nezu called his name in the hallway. "Hello, Aizawa." Nezu smiled as he approached the tired teacher of 1A. "How is your morning?" "Same as always." Shoto was hoping Nezu would get to the point. He could see that the animal had something on his mind. Thankfully for Shoto, he did get right to the point. "I request that you don't skip orientation this time for your quirk assessment test. You can still have it after, but let the kids actually have an orientation so they can learn about our various facilities and meet the other classes if briefly." "Is this because of Midoriya?" Shoto asked. He knew Izuku was a special case, but he didn't plan on treating Izuku so vastly different from before. He would definitely not be crass with Izuku, but he thought it would be insulting to him to just treat the boy like a little child, like how he thought others were planning on handling him if they ever had to. "He is part of my reasoning, yes. He needs to see that he isn't different and can fit in," Nezu said. "Making someone change their routine for him isn't showing him he fits. If he finds out, he will think he is even more different." Shota said. "How would he even find this out?" Nezu asked. "For one, it will be the first time in years I have my class show up for orientation. Other teachers will say something and his advanced hearing will pick that up," Shota explained. "I guarantee they will be fine and I will let them all know everything from orientation." Nezu nodded. As much as he felt like just ordering Shota to bring his class to orientation, he decided to let Shota teach his way. "I still want him to speak to Ryo." Shota nodded. "That is understandable. So should we expect Aizawa-sensei to question our sparring room?" Tetsu asked as he ate his eggs. "Hopefully not," Hanta said. "I enjoyed it." "I didn't as much," Denki said. "That's because I flipped you like an omelet." Hanta laughed. "You guys should just get an actual gym," Kyoka stated. "Definitely," Ijiro nodded. "That way we can go all out." "Should you guys go all out?" Ochako had a concerned look. "Not Midoriya. He could crush us going all out," Togaru said. "I don't want to crush you guys," Izuku spoke. "He doesn't mean it like that," Tetsu said. "He just means you are stronger than us and going all out for you is a different league than us." "Oh," Izuku responded as he grabbed his cup of milk. "Hey Izuku," Katsuki started a few minutes later as everyone started other conversations. "Do you want to come to my parents for dinner tonight?" Izuku didn't respond at first, so Katsuki added to what he said. "They were worried about you also. It will make them feel better to see you okay." Izuku nodded. "Will they be upset I don't remember anything?" Katsuki shook his head. "They'll understand. They'll just be happy to see their godson." Izuku looked at Katsuki. "What? They're your godparents?" Katsuki didn't know if Izuku was aware of what godparents were at this point. Izuku did. He just didn't know he had any. "Tonight." Katsuki nodded. "Yay, it's tonight." Izuku hesitated before he asked his next question. "Can Rumi come?" Katsuki had to think for a second on who Rumi was before he remembered it was the rabbit hero Mirko. He remembered seeing her in the press conference after Izuku got saved from that compound and during the villain attack, as well as when he saw Izuku at the entrance exams. Katsuki realized Rumi was very important to Izuku and nodded. "Of course, I can tell my parents right now." Izuku nodded, figuring he could tell Rumi at that point also. "Let's begin to go to class," Tenya announced. "Bro, we have 20 minutes. Hanta gave a confused look. "We should be prompt and early for everything." What bad could happen from being a little late to something? Denki asked. Heroes should always be there on time. Tenya said. Heroes weren't on time for me, Izuku said quietly. Dude, Ijiro gained a worried look. That's a valid reason to always be prompt and ready. Tetsu didn't actually know what to say. He decided to just support what Izuku said, which means let's start going. Katsuki said as he stood up and began to collect plates. Hey Asui, I can put them in the sink and have them soak until this afternoon. I'll clean them then. That's fine, but call me Tsu, the frog girl said. I'll clean them next time then. Okay, Katsuki nodded as he continued to grab plates. Izuku went back upstairs to grab his sandals while everyone made sure to grab the last items they also needed. On the way up to his room, Izuku pulled out his phone and dialed Rumi's number. He didn't like to text because he needed to hear people for it to feel real, and Rumi had said before she would always answer the phone for him. Hi, Izuku said as he heard her answer the phone. Hi Izu. Rumi yawned. It was early in the morning and she was worried he had problems during the night. How are you doing now? I'm fine. The guy Katsuki asked me to go to his home for dinner tonight, Izuku said. Rumi had heard about every one of Izuku's classmates from him last night. She really appreciated the ones who were making sure to be friendly with Izuku. Do you want to? He said his parents or my godparents. Izuku added. Will you come too? Of course I would like to. Rumi didn't hesitate. She didn't like people or situations where she has to be with people, but she ignored that for Izuku. What time? Izuku paused. He didn't know what time because he didn't think to ask. I don't know. Rumi pursed her lips. Okay, how about after classes are done I can just pick you two up and take you there? Okay, I can tell Katsuki. Izuku nodded. That works. Are you making sure you always breakfast? Rumi started to kick into her mom mode. Katsuki and Asui made food for everyone. That was nice of them. Do you have your sandals? I just got them on. That's good, Rumi replied. Hey Midoriya man, Ijiro's voice came from the hall. Ada wants us all to go as a group together to class. He said it would show something about our sense of togetherness. I'll leave you to your classmates, Rumi said. Have a good first day, Izu. Bye, Rumi. Izuku began to leave with Ijiro. Bye, Izu. See you this afternoon. Rumi waited for Izuku to end the call. She never wanted to unless he did it. Bye. Izuku repeated himself as he ended the call, waiting a few seconds beforehand to see if Rumi had anything else to say. Ijiro waited until Izuku had lowered his phone into his pocket to speak. So how are you, man? I'm okay, Izuku said as they went down the stairs. Are those sandals really comfortable? Ijiro looked at the Geta-styled wooden sandals Izuku had. I like not having shoes, Izuku said. Shoes feels restraining. I don't like it. Ijiro guessed it was something to do with Izuku's unpleasant last and didn't question it more. They look like they would hurt if you kicked someone with them. I broke a tree branch one time, Izuku stated as they entered the commons. You did what? Denki overheard them. My sandals, Izuku said as Tenya started to do a head count to make sure they were all there. Won't they break? Pony said. They don't look like they could last long like that. I have a few spares. Rumi makes me have at least 5 spares because she doesn't like me walking barefoot. I wouldn't either. That could hurt your feet. Pony wanted to say something to Izuku about how he shouldn't go barefoot, but he already had the sandals on. I have been working on it. Izuku went against himself, wanting to say the same line he said to Rumi months ago. Couldn't you make replacements with your bones? Tagaru turned around and asked. You can make bones in any form, right? Izuku nodded. I never thought of that. He could easily make some makeshift sandals from his bones if he ever needed to. Those would definitely hurt in a fight, Tagaru stated. Whereas Akitmitsu, Tenya said as he noticed the missing person. Everyone else accounted for. He doesn't even seem like someone to be part of a group, Denki said. We should still all go together, Tenya said. Kiyotaka walked down the stairs at that moment in his school uniform like everyone else. Let's just go. Tenya knitted his brows. He didn't know why Kiyotaka had an attitude with everyone. Let's go, everyone. They began to walk in 2 lines, one led by Momo and the other by Tenya. Izuku was in the 3rd set from the back, next to Katsuki, Ijiro and Pony in front of them. Rumi said yes. Izuku started. That's great. Katsuki nodded. My mom is excited. Rumi said she can get us from school after classes and take us there. Izuku mentioned the earlier proposal. Katsuki nodded again. That is fine. My mom said she is making katsudon. Izuku knitted his brows, wondering why that felt like it should mean something to him. Kiyotaka watched Izuku from the back of the class, making sure to follow his orders about watching for any cracks or things of interest at all in the boy. Shoto was watching the class as they were going from the dorms to the building. He wanted to make observations of the class and see how their different personalities all would act together. He did find it odd that the normal hot-headedness and aggression of 3 of his new students had yet to surface. Katsuki, Tetsu, and Tagaru all had files stating that they had quick fuses that would go off easily. He didn't count them making a training room as an example because that was just boys being boys having to get off energy. Katsuki, you had a different level of aggression as the other two, however. He didn't try to make himself number one and fight for it. He would get very defensive of anyone be wanting to pursue goals and anyone who was negative about that goal, as well as aggressive anytime the subject of Izuku was even close to being brought up. He seemed very defensive of Izuku now that you had his old friend back. He figured maybe Izuku's presence might have influence on all of them, as he could see the three seemed to stick around him on the way to class. For all he knew, maybe Izuku had a calming factor for them all and they wouldn't be aggressive. On the way through the school, they weren't the only class heading to their classroom early, but that was a bit problematic because their class got attention as they went through the halls of UA. Specifically Izuku. 1A noticed how others looked at Izuku and how uncomfortable it was making the boy. Izuku knew he would have people still giving him odd looks and the such, but being in 1A where they were nice was a different pace he preferred over this. Are they really letting him in here? Izuku heard someone whisper. Isn't he mentally unstable? Another person said, which was heard by people in 1A. Some of his classmates started to see Izuku was gaining a sad look. Katsuki grit his teeth, turning to the person who just said that. Shut the up, he deserves to be here more than you. If you want to say something, come line up so I can break your teeth. And Tagaru joined Katsuki in yelling at people. If you talk shit, I will make you regret it, Tetsu added. Guys, Tenya was about to tell them to not tell, but Kyoka behind him used her earphone jack to keep his mouth shut. Just let them yell for a second, Kyoka said. The students all filed into the classroom, finding a piece of paper giving a seating chart. Izuku's seat was number 16, the first seat in the row by the window. In the seats surrounding his, numbers 11, 12, and 17, were Ijiro, Huryu, and Tetsu respectively. Izuku didn't mind this since all three of them were nice to him. Everyone in the class besides Kiyotaka seemed nice anyways. Shoko was quiet, but she wasn't exactly mean to Izuku. He did wonder why she seemed to stick in his mind, however. Once everyone got to their seats, Tenya, in seat 3, spoke about the hallway. Bakugo, Kamakiri, Tetsu, I understand why you said what you said, but you can't go threatening other students at UA. It wasn't a threat, Katsuki said. I was making a promise. Tagaru and Tetsu nodded in agreement. Just don't make violent promises like that then, Kenya asked. If they don't stop being pricks, we won't stop, Tetsu stated. He patted Izuku's pack in front of him. We got you back, man. Thank you, Izuku said quietly. He liked that someone defended him. Even if the way wasn't necessarily a nice way, he still liked it. So where is Aizawa sensei? Katsuki asked as he leaned back in his seat. Number 18. They were early to class, sure, but shouldn't Aizawa be there earlier than them? I can't wait for orientation, Pony said with excitement. I bet the other first years are fun. We aren't going to orientation today. Shota entered the classroom, looking at everyone, glad to see them in their assigned seats. The seats were random save for Izuku and the three on his sides. Shota made sure that Izuku would have the kids with the quirks that could protect themselves the most if he had a mental episode, were the closest so that less harm would happen if any. We aren't, Tenya asked in surprise. Did they cancel it? I think it is pointless to have a repetitive 3-hour lecture on parts of our school grounds and what we expect of each of you. Shota pulled open a drawer on his desk and started to pull out plastic bags that had gym clothes with names of each of the students. We obviously expect good behavior and actual effort. Shota began to pass out the clothing by handing them to the first person in each row to pass back. You should all already have a pamphlet that is located in your dorms and the various training facilities and grounds of UA. Everyone put their gym clothes on and find me out at Field 3. Shota left the room. Everyone began to grab their gym clothes and make for the door to go to the locker room. He doesn't waste time, Tagaru stated. That's great. Tetsu grinned. More time for training. In the locker room, everyone quickly changed, but Katsuki couldn't help but notice all of the scars that Izuku had when he was changing. He paused for a second when he saw them, and it made Tagaru next to him stop too in confusion. What? Tagaru asked. Katsuki stopped looking in Izuku's direction, not wanting to give too much unwanted attention to Izuku's scarred body. Nothing. He hoped that no one else would call out Izuku's scars. Tagaru did see the scars and realized what Katsuki was trying to do and nodded. It angered him as well that something like that happened to Izuku. Shota waited on Field 3 and watched as all of the kids began to walk together to the field. He had to admit he was happy to see the 3 kids who got defensive of Izuku in the hallway get defensive of him. This class was already better to him than his other classes just because of how open and helpful they were about Izuku's situation, something people tend to not be as good about in similar situations in Shota's past experience. Perhaps this year he wouldn't need to have the threat of expulsion for any of them since they had their heads on straight and others like Tenya or Momo already acted like decent leaders. Let's get cracking, teach. Tetsu clapped his hands. What are we doing today? A early year test? Katsuki asked. Shota hid a smirk and nodded. Quirk assessment test. Here at UA, we carry the message of Plus Ultra, always going above and beyond. Today I plan on having you each do the same physical tests you did in middle school but with the added strengths of any of your quirks. Can anyone explain my reasoning? He didn't feel like he had to babysit this class and wanted to see if they can think on their own. Izuku raised his hand slowly. Shota nodded to him. Because in the field we need to know the limits and risks of our quirks so we don't cause an accident or hurt any civilian. Shota nodded. Yes, Midoriya. Some of you have quirks that if used even slightly wrong could have bad consequences. I want today to show you all how far your quirks can go at this given point, but you shouldn't use this as a daily standard as what to do in the field. Shota was glad to see none of the students looked lost. Afterwards, however, because big your unique situation, Midoriya, I would like to have a few more tests. Because big your extra quirks. He didn't plan on calling Izuku out and was 60% sure that the boy wouldn't be embarrassed by it. Okay, Izuku nodded, understanding that he would have more quirk tests since he had more quirks. Aizawa-sensei didn't seem to treat Izuku any different from the other students too much but was still aware of Izuku's difference. For some reason, Izuku liked the way Shota handled his situation. So what's first? Ijiro cracked his knuckles. Shota pulled a base from his pocket as well as a scanner. I will have each of you throw this as hard as you can, using your quirks in any way possible to optimize the distance. Hiryu raised his hand. Are we to try to use our quirks in any way possible even if that way isn't practical in the field? If there is a way that would increase your stay, try to find it. Quirks are tools to help us in the field, so if there is a way to utilize that tool, good for it. Shota answered, liking how the kids were thinking. As the highest scorer in the class from the entrance exams, Midoriya, you go first. Izuku nodded as he went over to Shota to take them. Are there rules? Shota nodded. Stay in this white circle and do not completely destroy them. Izuku nodded again and thought about he would throw them. Figuring out a way that might increase the distance if part 2 worked, he began to wind up his arm before he jumped, spun and released with insane speed before everyone held a snapping sound and disappeared from view over some tree. Shota wondered what the snapping was when he looked at Izuku's left head to see the final joint on his index finger was bleeding and sealing itself up quickly. You shot out a joint. Izuku nodded. I call it my Teshi Senden or my 10-finger drilling bullets. I threw the and then shot it while it was in the air to push it farther. Shota nodded and checked the scanner to see the head finally hit the ground. You have 954.6 meters. Good score. Izuku made a small, barely noticeable smile at the praise. Next is you, Bakugo, Shota announced as he pulled another from a bag. Nice. Katsuki went into the circle and held. He pointed at the trees where Izuku had thrown his. Just in that direction. Yes, Shota answered. All right, Katsuki said as he threw the, releasing an explosion as he did, sending the flying fast over the tree. Shota looked at the scanner and waited until the distance was shown. 837.9 meters. Katsuki nodded. That's an improvement. Next is Kirishima, Shota said. Soon everyone had gone through the throw, some people having quirks that made throwing the unique. Pony had impaled the on a horn and shot it off and it went 935.7 meters. Momo had made a cannon with her quirk and shot it for 2 kilometers. Shoko had thrown hers, then stomped her foot to send out a pull of ice that smacked the farther away, much like how Izuku had shot the with his finger bone. Ochako had the best throw when her gravity quirk sent the into space and the distance was red as infinity. The next test was a grip test. Izuku had the second highest score with 305.6 kilograms behind Momo, making a heavy-duty clamp that crushed the machine. In the long jump, Izuku had glided far past the sandbox and landed on the side of a building. In the standing high jump test, Shota had stipulated that you can't have your feet hit the ground, but any way to make yourself get higher counts. Izuku had jumped 20 meters up. Momo made a jetpack, making some people question how many objects she knew how to make at that point. Ochako had floated up for 45 meters before she got too nauseous. Shoko made a pillar of ice that kept going until she felt like she might be overdoing it, stopping at 60 meters. Katsuki used his explosions to propel himself 40 meters straight up before he let himself drop to the ground, stating he could go as long as he had sweat to create explosions with. After multiple more tests, they got to the longest test they had, which was a stamina test to see how long they could all go around a track before they got tired. Most people lasted a good 20 minutes and a few, those being Izuku, Katsuki, Tetsu, Tagaru, Ida, Ijiro, and Hiryu, lasted closer to in 30 minutes. Izuku, however, was still going after an hour only, then breaking a sweat. Shota had asked him to stop then, knowing he could go a while longer. That was the final test for the whole class, and Shota had started to tally scores and started to speak to the kid. You all have room for growth. You did well today, however, and have potential. Since we have more time since we skipped orientation, once you all know your spot here, I want all of you to either develop right here a quirk exercise, work in any quirk exercises you know, or do physical workouts. Except you, Midoriya, since I still have more for you. Okay. Izuku nodded. Shota handed the paper to Tenya, knowing how the class had dubbed him and Momo their leaders already. Just remember that just because you are near the top of near the bottom does not mean you are by definition that level of skill in the class. There are many ways to win any situation besides using maximum force. Read yours, then come over here, Midoriya. Shoto walked away for another part of the field. Tenya waited to announce the placements until everyone gathered around him. Okay, starting at the number 1 person going down, it is Midoriya, Bakugo, Todoroki, Yaoyorozu, Mi, Takoyami, Kamakiri, Ajiro, Kirishima, Tetsutetsu, Ashido, Asui, Rin, Tsunotori, Shiro, Uraraka, Kaminari, Jiro, Komori, and Akitmitsu. Good job getting top, Midoriya. Tetsutetsu said. Shooting your finger definitely helped that. Hiryu said. Doesn't that hurt? Pony asked. It does. Izuku nodded. It's like getting my joint ripped out, but it's patched up just as quick. Healing fast as shit isn't an excuse to always harm yourself, Midori. Pony huffed. Izuku noticed how Pony had started to act like Rumi when it came to his poor sense of self-preservation. It was kind of odd, but he didn't mind. I have to take my other tests now. You're avoiding the subject, Pony huffed as Izuku walked away to Shota. How many joints can he shoot? Denki asked. Could he shoot them like a machine gun? Ask him later, I guess. Hiryu shrugged. I can do that with my scales. It'd be cool to see someone else with a similar thing. Over with Izuku, he stood in front of Shota. Midori, I want to be honest with you. I understand everything that happened to you, and I know it must make you view you as a curse, as well as having unwillingness to use some quirks you gained from it. Izuku shook his head. The bones I have some problems with. It reminds me of his quirk a little. Shota figured he must mean the man who kidnapped Izuku. I don't doubt that. However much you will not use your quirks, I want to just make the point of quirks being tools. You have more because of circumstances, and that means more is expected from you from a lot of people. Are you one of them? Izuku asked. Shota shook his head. I have exact expectations for each of my students that is well within their capabilities that will also take work. I understand if you will not use some of the quirks, but today I want you to test any quirks that could use testing. Like my flame breath? Izuku asked. You have gained your father's quirk? Shota asked, not remembering seeing it on the sheet he was given after the entrance exams. I got it just recently, Izuku explained. Have you practiced with it? Izuku nodded. I can use it, but I don't have as much natural resistance to the flames like my dad did. I have to train it more. I burn my mouth using it. My regeneration negates that though. Your regeneration is very helpful in the process of your quirks since your body isn't immediately built for every quirk. What tests do you have? Izuku asked. I was aware of your finger bullet technique. I have some targets here set up in the trees, and I want you to hit them all in less than 30 seconds. It will test your reflexives. Okay. Izuku nodded and faced the trees. Do I do it from here? Shota nodded. Yes. They will all start to move when I press this button. Shota showed the remote he had. Hit the target while they are moving. If they are hit while being still, they will have a red light. I want less than 4 red lights. Izuku nodded and Shota pressed the button. 2 targets popped up from separate branches. Izuku immediately fired 2 joints and the targets shattered from the impact. 3 more appeared and Izuku managed to hit 2 of them. This went on for 30 more seconds and Izuku hit a majority of the targets. You got 28 out of 30. Your reflexives are definitely something. Shota commented. Explain your Mako FA. It's like a battery I have. It charges me and the quirks that require energy from me use that instead. I don't feel tired for a while unless I use too much of one quirk and make it drain my Mako FA fast. My dances are the worst for that, or my flame breath. Izuku explained. Your dances. They use your actual bones, correct? Shota asked. How does it cause more pain to use them over your bone layer? I make them shift into the shapes that are required and that causes massive strain to my body. The worst ones are my 2 Tessenka no Mai dances. I believe you used the one called the flower at the exams, Shota stated, remembering the large drill Izuku used. If that used his real bones, it must be insanely tiring to use. What is the other one? It's called vine. It uses my spine like a whip. Izuku answered. That must cause back pain. Shota didn't want to see Izuku use the dance that started with ripping out his whole spine. That one hurts my back in, Izuku stated. For another test, I want you to use flame breath as long as you can. Shota got ready to inspect the flames. Okay. Izuku nodded as he prepared his fire, a glowing happening in his throat as he prepared to unleash his flames. Kiyotaka stopped when he saw Izuku release the flames off with Aizawa. He wasn't aware that his target had gained this quirk. He would have to let his leader know of this development immediately. We'll look at Midoriya. Denki stopped running laps with Hanta to see the large torrent of flames Izuku was releasing. I thought it would be like small flames, Hanta remarked. Katsuki had a smile seeing the flames. Knowing Izuku must be happy to carry his father's flames on. Shoko had noticed the flames and it made her start to have a seed of doubt for her choices regarding her own quirk. When Izuku stopped releasing the flames, he had a small smile, despite the burnt appearance of his lower face that was healing at a decent rate. Shota wrote a note about making sure to record next time on how Izuku's resistance is to see its rate of growth. That was good, Midoriya. Your flames are strong and you can hold them for a good while. How is Mako FA handling itself at this point? Shota didn't know how much energy it had or how much everything took from it. He didn't want to risk causing the boy to have actual injuries or cause damage that lasts. I am at Izuku tried to get a grasp on the battery. Because of the flames I am around 60%. Shota didn't even know where Izuku was before the fire. How much did the fire take? It uses a lot of energy to keep my insides at least resistant, and the healing of my mouth and face along with the fire itself was 25%. Izuku stated, it's the most costly to use. I'm assuming Mako FA can increase its capacity as well as everything else, Shota asked. Izuku nodded. It does. Can you show me that dance of the camellia of yours? It will be the final test today. Shota didn't want to overwork Izuku. He kind of liked the boy for how quickly he was to the point. Izuku nodded. On anything in particular I do better if I have points to focus on. Shota pointed to the trees. Any of the trees works. Got it. Izuku moved his feet into his stance and took a breath. Tsubaki no Mai. Izuku whispered his dance as ripping sound was heard and a form was taking shape over one of his shoulders underneath his gym shirt. Izuku removed his right arm from his gym top and put his left hand over the now visible bone hilt of his sword bone and began to pull it out of his shoulder, his arm going limp like before. The bone was shaped like a katana and was covered slightly in a clear liquid. Izuku's eyes were still closed and he took another breath as he held the bone sword up in front of him in his left hand. Dance of the Camellia. There was something intimidating about Izuku's dance beginning to Shota. The calmness Izuku gives off as he takes a breath and forces a bone from his body in simple motions was definitely something he wouldn't want to fight against. Izuku flashed forward and slashed at multiple small branches, as well as the trunks of some trees as he went through the motions of his dance. The dance was fluid and Shota had to admit that it showcased a lot of Izuku's skill. Izuku stopped after 4 minutes, breathing heavy for the first time that day. Is that enough? Izuku asked. He saw his teacher nod and Izuku let go of his bone sword, which decayed really fast once it was out of his grasp. Izuku took a breath and felt that his energy was at 45%. You did good, Midoriya. I won't run you through any more tests today, Shota stated as he finished writing notes. Tell the others I will be expecting you all in the classroom shortly. Izuku nodded as he went to tell the others. The closest two were Tetsu and Ijiro, who had decided to spar. Hey Midoriya, Tetsu said as he traded a blow with the redhead. Wanna join? Izuku shook his head. Aizawa-sensei said he is expecting us in the classroom soon. Gotta wrap it up then. Ijiro grunted as he took a blow. Izuku watched them fight for a second. It would be easier to block attacks instead of taking everything and being purely offensive. Our style is pure offense, Tetsu said. Our quirks make our defense. Your quirks might get tired after a while and then it's just you, Izuku pointed out. Someone who has only one big strength isn't as good as someone with multiple medium strengths. The two sparring partners stopped their spar, both looking at Izuku with the same idea. Teach us a better style, man, Tetsu stated. Yeah, I bet you have a great style for us. It sounds like you have a few, Ijiro said. Izuku felt awkward because people didn't normally ask him for advice. The only person bring Koda, but he was a different case. It doesn't have to be immediately right now, Ijiro said. Tetsu nodded as he leaned on Ijiro with his elbow. Yeah man, just whenever you want. Izuku nodded. Okay, I'm going to tell the others now. We'll join you, Ijiro said. We can split up who we tell and get to class faster. Shota sighed as he walked up to the door of the building, knowing he was going to get an unnecessary lecture. Don't you think you were too blunt with him? All Might asked as he looked at Shota. Are you trying to say honesty is something I should not have done with him? Shota responded. You know what he has been through and you just bluntly say that you are aware of the fact that he thinks his is a curse. All Might said. What I have said to him has caused no damage. He wasn't upset with me at all, Shota stated. He was cooperative with me and didn't show any signs of discomfort doing the extra tests. All Might knitted his brow. He knew that Shota had a point, but the what looked almost apparent lack of care Shota had for the situation bothered him. I was fully aware of his situation the whole time. Shota spoke again. He needs someone who doesn't coddle him but is there as guidance, that tells him everything honestly and doesn't try to trick him at all. He is fine, All Might. All Might wanted to argue but looked at Izuku far off, who had been talked into a fist bump with Tagaru. His class has taken a liking to him. The rest of the students had not yet. Shota remembered the scene in the hallway. I guarantee that at least for a little bit the only students here that will be like this will be his classmate. Is that why you didn't even mention the expulsion threat you usually have? All Might asked. They don't need that threat in this class. They are good kids, Shota replied as he went inside of the building to find Hound Dog. All Might was surprised to hear Shota say that. From everything he had heard from the others, Shota was an ass who didn't like other people. He expelled kids before, but this one class he actually liked. All Might wondered if it was the whole class or one certain student that Shota took a liking to. Hey Midoriya man, how does your fire work? Denki asked as they were changing back into their school uniforms. I light the fire in my throat and expel it out of my mouth, Izuku answered happily, eager to talk about the flame quirk if any of the quirks he had. Dude, I would hate to fight someone and halfway through they just breathe and turn me to toast. Hanta said. Have you tried to combine your dances with flame breath? Katsuki asked. No. Izuku shook his head as he put his scarf back on. Why not make a dance centered around flame breath? Tetsu asked. That would be cool. I haven't tried that much yet, Izuku admitted. I still need to make my resistance to it better. Resistance? Why does it hurt you to use? Tagaru asked. It burns. It's worth it, Izuku said as he put his sandals back on. It's your best quirk, Katsuki said, knowing by now how much flame breath meant to Izuku. Rumi likes my reflex quirk because she said I make a good sparring partner. Who's Rumi? Denki asked. My caretaker. Was she the lady with the rabbit ears I saw yesterday? Ijiro asked. When you were about to enter UA. Izuku nodded. Denki then snapped his fingers. Wait, your caretaker is Mirko? Izuku nodded again. Dude, she is hot. Don't hit on Izuku's caretaker. Katsuki deadpanned. You spar with Mirko? Tagaru asked as they left the locker room. Sometimes we make a game while sparring. One time it was whoever lost had to make dinner. Izuku remembered that time when he did in fact lose and learned how to make a stew that Rumi liked. Hi guys, Pony said as the girls met up with the guys at the classroom. Where's Izuwe-sensei? Momo asked the class as they entered the room and saw he wasn't there yet. Shouldn't matter. Tagaru walked to his seat. He wanted us here and he might be getting something. Wanna play cards? Denki pulled a deck from his pocket. You better not gamble, Kyoka warned him. No gambling at all, Tenya said. Denki out his hands up. Relax guys, geez. No gambling, just cards. I'm in, Tagaru said. Might as well. Tetsu agreed. Oh, I wanna play, Pony exclaimed. Izuku looked at Katsuki. Is it okay if we go somewhere before dinner? Katsuki wondered where Izuku wanted to go. I guess. Where is it? I just want to see my parents, Izuku said. Katsuki wondered if Izuku meant the memorial site and nodded. That's no problem, Izuku. Aizawa entered the room at that point, followed by a large man who resembled a dog with a mane of scruffy blonde hair. Put the cards away. Denki snapped his fingers and began to collect the cards. Since I decided against having you all go to the orientation, he is here to give his speech. He would have if you did show up. Shota sighed as he sat at his desk. The other adult faced the students. Hello Class 1A. I am Hound Dog and am the lifestyle guidance counselor here at UA High School. I am here to provide support and advice in any way I can for any number of problems you have with your career choices or general life. Izuku raised his hand, which Hound Dog was not expecting anyone to do yet. Yes, problems like all of mine, Izuku asked. Hound Dog thought that Nezu was joking earlier when he said that Izuku was very blunt about everything. It did help speed things along for him. Yes indeed, Midoriya. I can be helpful with life advice as well and am a good person to vent anything to. Shoko raised her hand, something no one expected since she was always quiet and didn't like to get involved. Like if we are struggling with a mental dilemma. Hound Dog was wondering what dilemma Shoko had because it seemed like she was referring to something specific. Yes to that as well. My door is always open during school hours and up until 7 at night for anything you need off of your ass. I keep discretion as much as you need or want. Hound Dog finished, talking and G out some of the stuff he felt unnecessary for this class. He had an odd feeling from the kid in the back with the brown hair, but he brushed it off. That is all I needed to say. If you kids ever need someone to talk to, my door is open. His goal was to get Izuku interested in seeking help, and it seemed like the boy was interested at least slightly. Once Hound Dog left, Shota spoke again. On the first day after orientation is done, normally your teachers for each class have an introductory class to let you know their expectation. That will happen after lunch, which gives us 1 more hour. I want to go through each of your quirks with you here before that for a proper explanation from you so I can better understand them. Midoriya, you already did that with me outside, so you are fine to stay quiet unless you have something else to add about your quirks when it is your turn. I will go by seat numbers. He turned to Kanoko, who had seat 1. He said the next thing for the whole class, however. If you are too embarrassed about it, I should point out each of your classmates will be working around you, and this is an opportunity for teamwork and growth among peers. Not the speaking right now per se, but working together in general. Kanoko nodded and got ready to speak. It was now lunch. All of them had told Aizawa about their quirks, and he had made valid points when he spoke, offering pointers for their quirks. For Kanoko, you said it would help if she had a tool that could add water or humidity to the air to make her mushrooms grow faster. For Kyoka, he had mentioned that she should talk to Present Mike about tools to make her sounds more effective. Most importantly, the class got to finally learn more about their mysterious classmate Kiyotaka, learning that his quirk was called gas and anyone who breathed it in would be sent to sleep, including Kiyotaka himself. He didn't contribute much more, but they at least got a little on him. Shoko had still not brought up the other half of her quirk because she didn't want to acknowledge what Sue had gotten from her father. The class had taken to 3 tables that could sit them all with a little spare room at lunch. Kiyotaka had taken his lunch and left, but the other 19 had stayed together. Man, I knew UA was a big school and obviously had the best of everything, but the food selection here is amazing, Tetsu declared as he began to wolf down a steak. It is rather nice, Momo said, slightly put off by how Tetsu ate. She had multiple sweets in her lunch. Why do you have that much sweet food? Pony asked. Aren't you worried about losing your good figure? Momo shook her head. Creation uses up the fatty cells in my body to create everything. So you have a free pass to eat however you want? Kyoka asked, looking a little annoyed when Momo nodded. Lucky Pony made a pout. I have to actually work out for my figure. I just dance, Mina said. It's fun. I don't dance like Midoriya though. Izuku wasn't paying attention since he was too busy trying to ignore some looks from around the lunchroom. People recognizing his green and white hair. Want me to kick their asses? Toguro said when he noticed Izuku's expression. Izuku shook his head. I don't want to make a scene. It would be me making a scene. Toguro pointed out. Kamakiri, please don't fight anyone. Tenya stated. Stay civil. You know I don't want to do that. Toguro gave Tenya a look. However, Midoriya doesn't want their teeth kicked in, so it won't happen. Thank you, Izuku said as he started to peel an orange really fast by making a small sharp bone in his finger. Wow, that looks like you practiced it. Hiryu commented when Izuku finished skinning the orange in less than 5 seconds. I like cooking, Izuku said. Rumi says I can be a chef. He enjoyed cooking a lot because it was something he had control while doing. Well, since we have 3 apparent cooks in the class, who do you guys think is the best? Ijiro asked. Let's take it a competition, Katsuki said. You say that because you know you would lose. Tetsu laughed. No, I would not, Katsuki stated. I think I am good enough to win. Suyu said. Let's have a cook-off tonight then. Denki said. 3 cooks make us all dinner and then we have the winner declared. Even if we all 3 wanted to do that, me and Izuku won't be here tonight, Katsuki said as he began to eat his curry. Dinner with my parents. Whack, Denki replied. Tomorrow morning, Izuku asked. He liked cooking, so he would take this opportunity to do it. Oh, see, even Midoriya wants to do it, Hanta said. Do we make them all make the same dish? Ochako asked. Very interested in this. I make good omelets, Izuku said. I can also make these breakfast wraps that. Okay man, save it for tomorrow. Toguro slowed down Izuku, who was getting very excited, something everyone enjoyed seeing. Okay, Izuku nodded. It was kinda cute how excited he got. Kyoka commented. So you do like Midori? Pony accused. No, Kyoka said. I can't make an observation without you saying that, can I? Nope, Pony smiled. How about this? Tetsu held up his hand. Bakugo and Asui both cooked already and we have expectations for them now. Why not make the competition tomorrow night's dinner and Midoriya can wow us with his breakfast making skills tomorrow? I like that. Izuku agreed with a smile. He's in, that's all that matters, Hanta said. Kiyotaka opened his phone and dialed the untraceable number on it. He had moved to a rooftop of UA, where he knew he wouldn't get bothered. What is your report? The voice of his leader said. Not wanting to waste time and knowing that Kiyotaka would only call if it was important. Midoriya has gained flame breath from his father somehow, Kiyotaka stated. It seems to be his favorite if his reactions are anything to go by. He should naturally. The quirk helps tie him to his past. Anything else? It seems like our classmates have already started forming bonds with him. He doesn't seem to be panicking about his situation as much as we thought he would. That does make us have to push a little harder when the time comes. I have a new job for you. Am I not to focus on this one anymore? No, this is in regard to your previous job of finding the seams for us to rip at. The marks. I want a second person. They will be instrumental in Midoriya's corruption. Find someone who, if they fall, he will, or vice versa. Someone he could sympathize with in any way and have that person run by us before my pupils' plans take place. We will begin giving them the seeds of corruption then. Right, I shall watch everyone here for a candidate. Kiyotaka heard the phone line cut off. It was now the end of the school day and the students of 1A were on their way back to the dorms. So let's just swap out our clothes and hit the road, Katsuki said to Izuku, who nodded as he went for the stairs. Katsuki turned to Tsuyu before he went up the stairs as well. I will still get the dishes when we come back, I swear. Tsuyu waved him off. I can get them tonight. You can get them next time. Are you fine with that? Katsuki asked, not wanting to have her do it. You're fine, Bakugo. If I have to call you Tsu, you're calling me Katsuki, the explosive teen stated. Wouldn't it be cats to have equality? Denki asked as he walked past. Katsuki's temper rose at that. Don't call me Cats, Pikachu. Your temper is so random, Denki stated. I'm calling you Cats, Tsuyu said. You're fine. Katsuki nodded to the frog girl. I'm going to get ready to leave now. He left to go upstairs. Denki looked offended once Katsuki left. Wait, so I get yelled at but she doesn't. Maybe he thinks she is cute and doesn't yell at cute girls, Mina offered. But he yelled at Kaminari, Hanta joked. Oh wait, you said cute girls. Oh haha. Denki fake laughed. I'll shock you. No you won't. Tenya and Momo both said from their spots at the couch area reading their separate books. Haha. Mom and Dad yelled at you. Hanta joked again. You guys are immature. Kyoka sighed. I find it funny. Honi stated. Izuku came back down the stairs at that point, in his civilian clothes that consisted of bone-white slacks and a dark green button-up shirt, as well as his sandals and his scarf that was always around his neck now. Didn't you wear those yesterday? Denki asked. All my clothes look like this, Izuku said. I like this style. It clearly likes you, man. Ijiro nodded. Bet you get so many numbers just walking down the street. Numbers? Izuku asked. Phone numbers. Tagaru filled in. He means you must have a lot of girls hitting on you. No one hits me. Izuku looked confused still. This is going to take all day with you guys. Mina sighed. Midoriya, they mean you look good, which you do because that makes you look hot. Kyoka quickly added. Not like flames but just attractive. I got that one. Izuku said. Thank you. Let's get going. Katsuki came down the stairs. Rumi might be waiting. Izuku went for the door. Bye. See you. Midori Pony waved. We'll be back before 8 Ida. Katsuki said. Doesn't curfew happen at 9? Denki asked. The curfew is 9 for the gates of UA, and 10 for being back at your dorms. Momo answered as she flipped a page in her book. So what now? Hanta asked. Wanna find a gym and fight? Tetsu asked. Pretty much all of the guys bar Kiyotaka all agreed, all of them exiting fast. The only guys who didn't go were Tenya and Fumikage. Ada, can you make sure they don't do anything too dangerous? Momo asked without looking up from her book. I was finishing my paragraph before I did. Tenya nodded. At the gates to UA, Izuku AMD Katsuki saw Rumi, who was thumping her foot like a rabbit while waiting. Once she saw Izuku, she got happy and wrapped him in a hug. Hi Izu, did you have a good day? Rumi was happy to see the Bly who was like a son to her. I used flame breath, Izuku stated. We had a quirk test and I placed first. That's impressive. Rumi nodded. Only because you have too much stamina, man. Katsuki said. Hi, you must be his friend Bakugo. Rumi said to Katsuki. He told me about you. Did he say how I got second in the quirk test? Katsuki boasted. He didn't, but good job, brat. Brat, Katsuki repeated. The old him would have lost it at that, but him as he was now just questioned it. All kids start off as brats to me. Rumi stated. You gotta impress me for name recognition. That's my goal for the day then. Katsuki grinned. Well, let's go. What's the address? Rumi unlocked her car. Can we go to Mom and Dad first? Izuku asked. Rumi gave a surprised look. The other day when he went there took months for him to work up to. She didn't expect him to want to go back so soon. Sure, same deal as last time. Izuku nodded as he got in the car. Rumi put the car in park once she got by the memorial building. All right, Izu, while you do your thing, we'll stay here. Rumi gave Izuku a smile for support. Okay. Izuku nodded as he went to the building. Katsuki watched as his friend went inside the building he seldom went in himself. How many times has he gone there? This would be the second time. Rumi answered. Kid, I got a job for you. What kind of job? Katsuki was wondering where Izuku's caretaker was taking this. Izuku has a very delicate past I know you are aware of since you were his childhood friend. Izuku needs support to keep him from collapsing in on himself. Rumi started. She and the cats have done their best with Izuku and it has helped him by bounds, but there was still so much more to do. I don't care if you tell other classmates about this AMD, recruit them, but he needs a support system. Funny thing is we formed the Midoriya defense squad yesterday. Katsuki said. Most of the class is in on it. Me AMD, this other kid got ready to fight people in the hallways who were whispering about Izuku. Rumi made a smile. You're a good kid. Izuku went into the room like he did the other day, his heart not thumping as wildly as it did the last time he was here. He stood in between the graves and took a breath. Hi Mom, hi Dad. I'm at UA. Now, Izuku was speaking quietly. I found your things and I'm going to keep them as reminders of what real heroes are. I don't think I can be one like you guys. I have too many issues to be a hero like you guys. People keep trying their best to make me feel like one of them, but what if I am not? What if I am living a lie? A tear strolled down Izuku's face. I'm afraid I am just like people keep saying I am. That I am a monster. How do I know if I am? Izuku didn't speak for a minute. I don't know what I am truly meant for and it scares me. Everyone else gets parents to guide them and you guys didn't get the chance to help me know who I am. Izuku stopped venting his problems. He found small comfort in being there by his parents, even if they were gone for a decade and he was talking to graves. It was comforting. Does he stay in there long? Katsuki asked. He wasn't getting impatient. He was just worried about his friend. Last time he was in there for a while. Rumi let out a soft sigh, also getting worried about Izuku. A few minutes later they both saw Izuku walking out of the building. He wasn't hiding his face in his jacket as he didn't have it that time so they could see his red eyes. So they knew he had cried. Hey Izu, Rumi said as he got in the car. Are you okay? Izuku nodded. I'm okay. You said we're having katsuden tonight, right? Izuku asked Katsuki. Katsuki didn't like how Izuku didn't want to talk through his problems, but he wouldn't force Izuku. Yeah, we're having katsuden. That sounds good. Izuku said. I cooked it one time. Izu's a great cook, Rumi stated. We actually have a competition tomorrow night to see who the best cook in the class is, Katsuki said. Well, obviously Izu is going to win. If it was breakfast he would beat everyone so easily. He makes these wraps with things he knows I like and it's delicious. Well, I would like to think I have a fighting chance, Katsuki said. Sue also, she is a great cook. Which one is that? Rumi didn't remember hearing the name Sue. Asui, Izuku answered. He had told Rumi about all of his classmates the night before. Why does this one call her Tsu? Rumi asked. She asked him too. Izuku answered. Intriguing. So this quirk test you had, I'm assuming you had to have more because of your multiple quirks? Rumi asked. Izuwe-sensei gave me more tests. He had me use flame breath as long as I could in a test for my reflexes. He also asked me to do my Tsubaki no Mai. At least he didn't make you do one of the 2 Tesenka no Mai dances. Rumi was trying to figure out why the name Aizawa was familiar to her. He was really forward about my quirks and situation, Izuku said. Rumi looked irritated, thinking Izuku was upset about it. I liked how honest he was to me. He told me that he does have expectations for me, but he has expectations for everyone based on their skills from what he saw. Katsuki found the two talking kind of nice, as if they were family, and Izuku was telling a parent about his day at school. It's that building right there. Katsuki pointed at the apartment building where his parents' apartment was. They had just parked the car and were following Katsuki to the apartment. Izuku stopped for a second, having a feeling wash over him like he had been there many times. He kept walking, brushing it off because he knew Katsuki was an old friend, so of course he would remember the area slightly. They entered the building and went up the stairs. Are you sure they won't be upset? I don't remember them, Izuku asked as Katsuki was about to open the door. They'll be so happy just knowing you are okay, Katsuki reassured Izuku as he opened the door. Mom, Dad, we're here. Hey sweetie, a woman's voice said as she came from the kitchen. She looked like an older, more feminine version of Katsuki. Her hair had gray streaks despite her otherwise young-looking appearance. She saw Izuku and her heart stopped for a second. He looked so different from the little boy she used to watch over all the time. But at the same time he looked just like his parents, just enough to tug her heartstrings. His facial structure that was like his father, and those green eyes, despite how dead they were emotionally, looked so much like Inko's. Seeing the scarf she knew was also Inko's was another thing that made her feel sorrow. Her eyes started to water and she rushed over to Izuku to hug him. I'm glad you're here, Izu, Mitsuki whispered, years of stress that had built up all leaving her just being in her godson's presence, knowing he wasn't being harmed anymore. Izuku was never one for hugs. He mostly kind of stood there during them, but he put one arm around the woman. Mitsuki let go of the hug and looked at him. How are you? I'm fine. I'm doing good, Izuku said. Katsuki's father, Masaru Bakugo, came into the room. He too noticed the similarities Izuku had to his parents and also felt a wave of sadness. Hey Izuku. Hi Mr. Bakugo, Izuku said in reply. Masaru put a hand in Izuku's shoulder. It's good to see you. He was told by Katsuki earlier in text, as well as Mitsuki, that Izuku's memories were all missing or only back in segments. It saddened Masaru that Izuku went through something that stripped him of his good memories. It's nice to be here, Izuku said. It feels safe here. You'll always be safe here. Mitsuki gave a smile. Izuku smiled also, feeling genuinely safe with them. Dinner is almost done, Masaru stated. It should be another few minutes. Hey Izuku, I might have some of your things here in my old room, Katsuki said. Would you want them? Probably, Izuku answered. Let's go then. Katsuki led the boy to his room. Hi, I'm Rumi Yuzujiyama. Rumi introduced herself to Mitsuki. Mitsuki Bakugo. The blonde woman smiled. Thanks for watching over Izu. He's a great kid, Rumi said. He can't play cards at all, but he is great. It feels so good to see him better after what happened. On the news months ago he looked like a shell of a kid, Mitsuki said. He has gotten way better since then. Rumi agreed. Did you ever adopt him? Mitsuki asked. Adopt? Rumi repeated the word. She never thought of filing to adopt Izuku. From what Katsuki said, Izuku holds you very close. It may be good for him, Mitsuki said. As his godmother I think you should. I mean, he already is like a son to me, or weird little brother, Rumi stated. I just never thought of actually adopting him. Not that I am against it. We can help you with the paperwork, Mitsuki offered. They make people go through hoops for it. Thank you, Rumi smiled. So your memories just trigger right, Katsuki said as he pulled a box from his closet. They just pop up when something close to them happens, Izuku said. Like how I remembered you in the dorms. I'm glad you did, man, Katsuki said as he opened the box, showing a bunch of comic books and an old action figure of Izuku's father on top. I think this just has comic books in it. Izuku held the action figure of his dad. I like it. I think Mom and Dad might have another box from your parents in their room. We could probably get it after dinner. Katsuki and Izuku were moving through the comic books and then Katsuki found a journal. It had the writing of a 3-year-old on the cover. What's that? Izuku asked as he saw Katsuki holding it. He looked over to see the writing on it. Goals for the future. We made this after your dad told us about his," Katsuki said as he stood up and grabbed one he had on his desk. "The one he made." Izuku held his and a memory popped into his head. Dad, Izuku ran into his father's study, Katsuki right behind him. Hisashi turned in his chair. "What's up, Izu?" Izuku held up a journal that said goals for the future on the front. "What is this?" "Oh, that." Hisashi let out a laugh as he remembered the journal. "I made that when I was 5. It was everything I wanted to do in my life and I wrote it as a checklist." "Cool," both of the little kids said as they looked at it. "Can we have one?" Hisashi nodded, pulling spare journals from his desk. "Anything you think would be cool to do could go in there. Like stopping a supervillain," Katsuki said in excitement. "Or breath fire," Izuku said, dead set on wanting to inherit his father's quirk. "That is a good goal." Hisashi enjoyed how much his son looked up to him. "We can beat a supervillain by having you breathe fire on them," Katsuki declared. "Yay," Izuku nodded. "Dad, when do I get my fire?" "You have your quirk check appointment in 2 weeks if it doesn't show up before then," Hisashi said. Izuku felt sad as he opened the journal. He looked at the first page and it made him feel worse. It was a drawing he made of him and his father, the goal written below. "Be a super cool hero like Dad." Izuku doubted so much that he could be a hero like his father, but he would try his best. "Mine says start a band with you," Katsuki said as he showed Izuku the third page in his, which had those words as well as a drawing of them in what looked like a band, with Katsuki on drums. Izuku smiled at the picture, flipping to his second page and finding a similar page in his own journal. "Mine says that too. We really wanted to start a band." Katsuki chuckled. "Let's do it," Izuku said a minute later. Katsuki looked up from his journal. "I want to do everything in this journal," Izuku said as he closed the journal. "Let's make a band." Katsuki made a smirk. "This sounds like a fun time. I'm in." "Hey boys," Mitsuki's voice was heard. "Dinner is done. Let's take this all to the dorms tonight," Katsuki said. "Yes," Izuku agreed as he got up. "Tell Mom I'll be there in a sec," Katsuki said. "Okay." Izuku left the room. Katsuki looked at the final page in his journal, the one that mattered the most to him for years. It only had 2 words, but those guided him for a decade. "Save Izuku." Katsuki closed the book, thinking that it was almost completed. Dinner was a good experience. It reminded Izuku of the times he would have with the cats at the lodge. Everyone chatting about anything and eating together. Mitsuki had found out that Rumi and Izuku's show they liked was one she liked herself, so they spent a good portion of the dinner talking about it, Katsuki and Masaru being lost to that particular discussion. The boys talked about their classmates for a bit, talking about the different personalities at play. They said how Aizawa always seemed tired but was really smart and helpful with them. Rumi loved the part where they said a fight club was made. Her boasting about how she had won back when she was at UA and was undefeated. After dinner, Masaru was cleaning the dishes and the women were enjoying tea when Izuku asked a question. "Do you have anything of Mom and Dad's?" Izuku asked. "We do." Masaru nodded. "We kept everything. I can get it in a minute." Me and Izuku decided to make a band, Katsuki stated. "Really?" Mitsuki had a slight smile. "What made this decision?" "We found journals that we got the idea from Dad," Izuku answered. "I don't know what to play though." "I got drums," Katsuki said. "I'm pretty good at them. I think I own an old bass guitar," Rumi said. "I got it as a gift but never actually learned to play." "Well, now you have your bass player and your drummer," Mitsuki said. "You should find someone with a good voice for vocals though. If Katsuki did it, they would think a badger was having a ha. Katsuki made a half-fake laugh. "I didn't want to be the vocalist anyways. Jiro likes music," Izuku said. "Maybe she might like to join." Katsuki nodded. "We can ask her after we get back." Masaru came back into the room with the box. "This is all we have, Izuku. After what happened, some people acted like vultures and took anything they could. Some people were nice enough to help us get what we could." Izuku looked eager to open the box. Opening it, he saw smaller boxes, each labeled with his mother or father's name. Izuku pulled out a box with his mother's name and opened it, finding a small case with a necklace in it that had a red pendant with the initials HM on it. "I remember that," Mitsuki said. "Your father made that necklace on their 5th anniversary. It has a drop of his and he said something about how she would always have a piece of him with her. It was really sweet. And Ko even made him one with her a month later on his birthday." Izuku looked at Mitsuki. "Wait, my mom has somewhere." Mitsuki got confused by the question and Rumi immediately knew what Izuku was thinking. If there was a necklace with his mother's, he could attempt to recreate the DNA that made her quirk and honor her like he was with his father's quirk. "I believe that it was something we didn't get back, but I don't know." Izuku began to start pulling out every small box that had his father's name on it, looking for the necklace. "It could be here." Mitsuki looked at Rumi for an explanation. "He could get her quirk," the rabbit woman explained. "Is it possible you have it?" "I found it," Izuku stated happily as he held the case, with the necklace that had the small amount of. A smile was on his face. "We can visit Dr. Aiken later to see about giving you the quirk," Rumi said, enjoying how happy Izuku was at the development. Izuku suddenly hugged both Masaru and Mitsuki. Thank you. They both smiled at the boy's actions, glad to help their godson. Rumi pulled out her phone and began to text Dr. Aiken, asking him if he was available at that moment. Let's see what else is here, Mitsuki said as Izuku let go of them. Okay, Izuku said as they began to go through the box's contents. 30 minutes later, Rumi got an answer from Dr. Aiken by getting a phone call. Apologies, I was in a surgery, Yuga said. Has a development happened with Izuku? Can you make healthy from a few drops that are close to 16 years old? Rumi asked. That does sound like a complicated procedure. Are the drops sealed tightly that entire time? Yuga asked. They are, in a necklace, Rumi answered. If you bring them to the lab I can see what I can do. Is not my expertise, but we do have equipment that might make it possible. Thank you, doctor, Rumi said. We will be there soon. I will be here till 9 tonight, Yuga informed her. My door is always open for you and Izuku. Take care until you get here. Rumi smiled as the call ended. Dr. Aiken said that it might be possible to recreate your mother's and her quirk. Izuku smiled. That's good news. Here I was thinking Katsuden would be the best part of the night, Mitsuki stated. I think starting a band was the best part, Katsuki said. Is it possible to go to there tonight? Izuku asked Rumi, really eager. I was assuming you would want that. Rumi nodded. He said that he is there till 9. Masaru looked at the clock. Doesn't UA close the gates at that hour? They do. Katsuki nodded. I can take the train to UA while you guys do that. You should have enough time. Is this goodbye for now? Mitsuki asked. It was nice seeing you, Izu. Make sure to visit soon. Masaru gave a smile. It was nice to meet my godparents again. Izuku smiled. I can take the boxes back with me, Izuku, Katsuki said. You just do your work. At the doctor's lab they were greeted immediately by Dr. Aiken, who was in the lobby drinking tea. He had led them to the same room as before and was currently holding the necklace. It might have decayed too far, the doctor said as he held the pendant under a microscope. It is indeed sealed tightly, but the rate of decay might have beat us. Can I fix that? Izuku asked. My regeneration might heal it. That is a possibility, especially since some of your DNA should co-align with this, Yuga mused. However, it is a risky shot since the sample is really small and this is all you have. Can we do that? Izuku asked again. If you want, I believe it is possible, Dr. Aiken stated. If the DNA is close, couldn't you still inject it in Izuku? His regeneration should prevent anything bad from happening, shouldn't it? Rumi asked. That is a valid point. However, this is up to Izuku since it is him that this would be done to, Yuga said. Could we mix it with my and then inject it that way? If the decay doesn't react well, it doesn't happen in me, Izuku proposed. That will take bit to do, but we have the time tonight. Dr. Aiken agreed. I will get what is needed for this. Rumi gave Izuku a look. What are our chances of making it back to UA? Izuku looked confused at it. What? I want to get your new bass guitar, Rumi said. I don't think we would have enough time afterwards to get it for you and get you back to UA before curfew. If we don't make it back, I can just ask Katsuki to tell Yaoyorozu and Ida that I stayed home. Rumi nodded. That works, I guess. We can watch more of the Fallen Angels if I don't make it back, Izuku suggested. Rumi grinned. It's a plan. Soon Dr. Aiken showed back up with some equipment. I will need just a little of your for the mixture. Izuku nodded and held out his arm. He tensed up when the needle broke his skin, but he didn't panic, focusing on the fact of he might get his mother's quirk to stay as calm as he could. Dr. Aiken was quick to begin the process of mixing the two samples together. It seems the air is indeed regenerating the decayed. Nothing bad has happened yet. How long should it be before he can get the Rumi asked. I will need just a minute to see if the whole DNA strand for the quirk is repaired. It will only take a few minutes, Dr. Aiken said as he moved the sample and took it to another room. I hope it works, Izuku said after a minute of silence. It will, Rumi assured Izuku. Katsuki walked into the dorms. Hey, I'm back, Katsuki announced. Where's Midori? Pony said from a couch. He is at a doctor's lab right now. Nothing bad. He just found a way to possibly get his mother's quirk and is going for it, Katsuki said as he set the boxes down on a table. I just got a call from him saying that he is most likely going to stay home with Rumi for the night if he doesn't leave the lab soon. A certain person made a face while listening to Katsuki speak, knowing that he has to report this development as well. As long as he is okay, Ijiro said. He's really good right now, Katsuki said. What's in the boxes? Tenya asked. Stuff from before his kidnapping. I told him I would bring it all here, Katsuki explained. He looked around to see if Kyoka was in the commons. She wasn't. He figured he could just tell her about the band idea later. Wait, does this mean that he isn't making us breakfast? Denki asked. Food is what you are asking about? Ijiro asked. We just had dinner. Man's gotta eat. Denki shrugged. For all you know, he might get back before curfew, Tenya said. I hope he gets back, Pony said. I wanted to get Midori's advice on my accuracy. Your horn shooting? Ijiro asked. He might have good advice there, but your horns work different from his finger bullet things. He can't move them through the air. Valid point, Pony said. Which room is Izuku's? Katsuki said. I want to put this stuff down in there, right next to mine. Ijiro said. Is the second room on the third floor? Katsuki nodded as he picked the boxes back up. All right. Dr. Aiken walked back into the room with a single syringe that had the in it. The process was a success. You're patched up the old and has started to carry the quirk in it as well. We can inject it immediately if you would like. Izuku nodded as he exposed his and made the bone to his heart like before. Yes, please. Dr. Aiken nodded and repeated what he did the week prior, being careful knowing that Izuku might panic because of the similarities to before. He was much calmer than before, however, and was taking breaths to steady himself. He sat back in the chair while the new flowed through his heart, mixing into his stream. He felt like he was burning up slightly, but not as bad as before. A minute later, feeling back to normal. Are you okay? Izurumi asked, feeling glad when Izuku nodded. I'm okay, Izuku said. Thank you, Dr. Aiken. It's my pleasure, Izuku. The aged doctor said. My door is open anytime if you need help at all. All right, Izu, let's go get your new guitar. Rumi made a smile as they left. Do we have time before the curfew? Izuku asked. Rumi checked the time. We left early enough that you will be getting in the gates if you want to go back. I like it there, Izuku said. They're funner than me, Rumi asked. No, it's nice there is all, Izuku said. I knew they weren't funner than me. Rumi grinned. Izuku had made it back in time before the gates closed. He had the bass guitar from Rumi, which was painted white like her ears, strapped to his back when he entered the commons. Hello, Izuku said as he walked in. Hey, Midoriya made it back, Hanta said. Do you have any twos? Denki asked. Go fish, Katsuki said. He turned to Izuku. How did it go? The regained its coating and I have it in my system now, Izuku said. Wait, Toguru said. Why are we all brushing past the part where he has a guitar on his back? Rumi have me her bass guitar because me and Katsuki decided to start a band, Izuku said as he sat down. That's dope, Denki nodded. How good are you? I haven't played one before, Izuku admitted. Well, you might be a natural for all we know, Ijiro said as he moved a piece, playing checkers with Pony. Kyoka came down the stairs at that point to get water and saw Izuku's guitar. You play bass? Izuku got a little more attractive to Kyoka if he did. I don't know how to yet, but I want to, Izuku stated. I can teach you, Kyoka offered. I'm decent with a lot of instruments. That's awesome, Denki said, which made Kyoka get red just slightly. You'll teach me? Izuku asked. I love music, and if you are good at it I can say I made the music world just a little better for it, Kyoka said. Want to join a band? Katsuki asked. Me and Izuku are starting one. Kyoka at first was surprised that they were starting a band. Then surprised they asked her of all people to join it. Are you sure? Well, you just said you were good at a lot of instruments, Katsuki stated. You would have more experience than us. I'm on drums since I am decent there. Please, Izuku asked. Kyoka couldn't say no after Izuku asked her. I'm in. We can start lessons tomorrow, I guess. That's fine, Izuku nodded. You guys don't waste time here, Mina stated. A fight club on day one and starting a band the next. It's how we roll. Katsuki shrugged as he shuffled the deck of cards. I'm going to out my guitar up, Izuku stated as he went upstairs. I'll let Ida know you're back, Ijiro said as he opened his phone. All of the classmates had begun to swap numbers for better communication earlier. As he went up the stairs, Izuku encountered Shoko, who was going down the stairs. Hi, Todoroki, Izuku said. An edge of happiness had begun to filter into his normal monotone voice. Shoko noticed the difference. Hello, Midoriya. You have a guitar. Rumi gave me it. It looks nice. So do you. Just like when he was 4, Izuku slipped out a compliment without meaning to at all. Shoko's cheeks reddened only a little. Izuku realized what he just said. Sorry if. You're fine, Midoriya, Shoko stated, keeping her blush down. I returned that compliment. She walked down the stairs past Izuku. Izuku blinked for a second and wondered why he suddenly felt déjà 6 again. He didn't have to wonder when he got a memory again. Izuku fell out of the tree. Luckily, it wasn't high enough to hurt when he fell out. However, another kid in the park saw him fall and she panicked. Are you okay? The girl ran up to the green-haired boy upside down in the dirt. Izuku looked up at her and felt his breath leave again. He was young and didn't know much, but this girl was exactly that word his dad would use towards his mom all the time. And also being a 4-year-old, he still had no filter to stop him from saying everything in his mind. You're beautiful. The girl looked as confused as possible. What? Izuku rolled over into his stomach and stood up. Eye level with the girl. Her dual-colored eyes were pretty. One was gray and one was turquoise. Her hair was also 2 different colors, being white on the right half and red on the left side. I said you're beautiful. Sorry. It's okay. She paused. So you are fine. Izuku rubbed the dirt off of his knees. Yep, I'm Izuku Midoriya. He put his hand out like his dad does when he greets people. The girl accepted the hand hesitantly. I'm Shoko Todoroki. She looked at the tree. Why were you climbing the tree? I saw it and thought I could climb it. Then I fell off. Izuku scratched his head. Izuku let his gaze go to the bottom of the stairs, wondering how things had changed so much. He didn't even realize till now that he had met Shoko before. She seemed so distant from that girl who thought he hurt himself climbing a tree. He then began to wonder how she got that scar over her left eye, which before now he had made the assumption that it was a birthmark. Izuku made it a goal to find out what problems she had and to help her with them. When most of the class woke up, they all smelled something good being made as they went downstairs. "What is that smell?" Ijiro asked as he entered the commons. "Midori made breakfast." Pony smiled from her spot at a table. "I woke up early," Izuku said as he set a plate down on the counter separating the kitchen from the commons. "The plate closest to me has pork and the plate next to it has no meat." "Cool," Denki said as he looked at the two large plates of the rolled dishes. "What are these exactly?" "I don't have a name for them," Izuku said. "It's scrambled eggs, pancake mix, green peppers, crushed nuts, cheese, a sauce I can make, and some seasoning I found." "Man out here making his own dishes," Denki commented as he took two. "Thanks, they're really good," Mina exclaimed as she finished eating one. "You know how to cook, Midori." Izuku turned a little red from the praise. "Thank you. I also made rice cakes." "Dude, you're spoiling us." Togaru grinned as he ate. "These rolls are amazing," Tetsu stated, loving the pork ones. "I think I nutted, these are so good." Denki said. "You nutted?" Hanta gave the electric blonde a dumb look. Kyoka gave Denki a look. "Don't say inappropriate things." "What does nutted mean?" Izuku asked, not knowing what that term meant. "You don't know what nut is?" Denki asked, receiving a smack to the arm from Kyoka. "I used nuts in the rolls," Izuku said, not knowing how in this conversation how badly that sounded. PFFT. Tetsu stifled his laugh. "Midoriya, man, that type of nut he is talking about is really different from the ones you cooked with." "Why are you guys talking about nuts?" Katsuki asked as he came downstairs. "Kaminari is being weird," Togaru stated. "What else is new?" Katsuki accepted the weirdness. "So what did you make?" Izuku. "Wraps and rice cakes," Izuku answered as he washed his hands. "Is there a difference between the plates?" Katsuki asked. "Left has pork and the right doesn't," Tetsu answered. "The pork ones are good." "Can someone tell me what nut means?" Izuku asked. Togaru looked at Denki. "You said it, you explain." "I don't wanna. It's weird now," Denki said. "You made it weird by saying his wraps made you nut," Kyoka said flatly. "You kinda brought it on yourself," Hanta added. "I hate this," Denki sighed. "You don't have to tell me," Izuku spoke up. "It's fine." He could go without the knowledge if Denki was reacting like that. "Are you sure?" Denki asked. "If you are uncomfortable telling me, I would prefer not to know." "Okay," Denki replied. "Probably shouldn't say things like that anyways," Ijiro commented. "I know that now." Denki nodded. "These are good, Izuku," Katsuki said as he ate one of the wraps. "Thank you." Izuku was enjoying the fact that everyone liked his food. The final people to enter the commons showed up, those being Kiyotaka, Fumikage, and Shoko. Izuku avoided eye contact with Shoko because he was embarrassed about what he said the night before. Shoko also avoided looking at Izuku, as she did say that she also thought he looked nice. "What are these?" Fumikage asked as he got close. "They're wraps that have scrambled eggs, pancake mix, peppers, crushed nuts, cheese, a sauce I can make, and some seasoning," Izuku explained. "I also have rice cakes." "Thank you, Midoriya," Fumikage said as he took two of the wraps without pork. "Thank you, Midoriya," Shoko said while avoiding eye contact with Izuku, still focusing on a small scar on his chin instead. "Hope you like them." Izuku had taken to looking at her chin as well. "It's not even time for the whole chef cook-off thing yet, and all I'm saying is if Midoriya made these, he would definitely win," Togaru said. "Totally," Tetsu agreed. "So what's the plan for the day?" Ochako asked. "Isn't today the first day of our heroics training?" "Oh yay," Hanta said. "Completely psyched for that." "Is Izuku-sensei teaching that as well?" Mina asked. "I believe we have a different teacher for that course," Tenya said. "Well, if everyone else is a pro hero on UA, as staff I think it's another pro hero," Togaru said. "Probably one of the better ones." Izuku was quiet for a second before he realized who their teacher was. It was All Might. The man had told Izuku the previous week of his job there when he offered Izuku one for all. This made Izuku remember he was also supposed to look for people who had traits worthy of receiving one for all since he didn't think he deserved it. "I know who our teacher is." "You do?" Ijiro asked. "They told me before I came here. He wanted me to know ahead of time," Izuku explained. "That's cool," Togaru stated. "Who is it?" Mina asked. "He might want to introduce himself, and my saying it would ruin that," Izuku said. "I guess," Ijiro said. "Guess we all get a big surprise." "Can we get a hint?" Mina asked. Izuku did say it was a guy. "That is our hint." Katsuki was trying to guess who it was. "Hey Midoriya, what's this?" Ijiro indicated to the bag in Izuku's seat that had his father's gauntlet on it. "That's my father's. I wanted to take it to Izuku-sensei and see if he could help me fix it," Izuku explained as he made his own plate, using his mother's telekinesis quirk to lift the wraps and rice cakes onto it. The quirk was an exact replica of his mother's. It wasn't too strong like some pro heroes, but Izuku loved that he had it. Anytime he used it, his hair would lift slightly and a lime green light would appear in his pupils. "It looks cool," Pony said. Midoriya, did you just use the force on that rap? Denki asked as he saw Izuku use the telekinesis. It's my mother's quirk, Izuku answered. Glad you got it, Katsuki said. She'd be proud. Izuku nodded as he sat down in his seat, using the telekinesis to move his bag for him. So you now have the force, Hanta asked. Nice. Force, Izuku asked. You haven't seen Star Wars, have you? Ijiro asked. No, I only watched The Fallen Angels, Izuku answered. Oh dude, I love that show, Kyoka said. Where are you at? Season 2, Izuku answered. I watch it with Rumi. Oh, I wish you were on Season 3 because I need someone to talk to about what just happened, Kyoka said. What's The Fallen Angels? Mina asked. Only the best show. It's about an 18-year-old head who joins a biker gang because he is an arrogant ass and everything falls apart after that, Kyoka said. It's amazing. I think I saw an episode at one point, Togaru said. It's good, Tetsu said. And Matthew isn't anymore, he said to Kyoka. That ended after the... We are not spoiling it for Midoriya, Kyoka cut him off. I know what you are talking about, but Izuku isn't there yet. I want to see it now, Pony said. It has a lot of crime and bad stuff, so if you aren't into that you won't like it, Tetsu said. Well, they make it seem good, so I want to see it, Pony said. Guys, we have 10 minutes before class. Tenya, let everyone know. How many rice cakes did you make? Midoriya Mashiro asked. I made enough for each of us to have 3, Izuku answered. Nice, Denki said as he grabbed more. I'm snacking on these in class. I had the same idea. Hanta let out a laugh as he grabbed some. What's in this sauce? Momo asked the clear-eyed boy. Rumi said, I can't tell people since I should have my own secret recipe. Izuku answered. It's really good, Momo said. Does the sauce work with spicy food? Katsuki asked. I can try. We have some spices I can use, Izuku answered. You should be a professional chef or something, Tetsu said as he took another wrap. Seriously man, you have a talent. Rumi said that too. Izuku had a small smile. On the way to class they were in 2 lines again, but this time next to Izuku was Shoko, as Katsuki wanted to speak to Kyoka about their band. The two were walking silently, wanting to say something to the other but not knowing what to say. Izuku wanted to ask about her scar and what he assumed wasn't a pleasant memory that came with it, but he didn't want to just do that. It seemed crass and the area they were in was not one for it. Shoko wanted to ask him how he manages to use all of those quirks he has, knowing the history of how he got them and all of that baggage. She wanted to know how he could use a quirk that should be something he despises like she does with her left half, but instead he uses them, as if the past didn't matter. The breakfast was nice, Shoko said, disliking the fact that she spoke about breakfast instead of what she really wanted to talk about. Thank you, Izuku replied. I don't know what I am making during the cook-off thing. I like soba. The ice quirk user was liking herself less for that. Instead of talking about something really important, she said the words, I like soba. I made that before. I like it too, Izuku replied. He wanted to not talk about food and instead on the topic of her so he could help if he had the ability to. Izuku guessed that could wait. Entering the classroom, they found that Shoto was there early like them as well. Everyone went to their seats except Izuku because he wanted to ask his teacher about the gauntlet. Aizawa-sensei, Izuku said to get his attention. The ever-tired man looked up from his papers. Yes, Midoriya. Can you help me fix my father's gauntlet? Izuku pulled out the rusted gauntlet. Shoto looked at the gauntlet curiously. Wondering for a second how Izuku had managed to find something he figured the people who acted like vultures after Spitfire's death wouldn't let go of. The cords he knew existed for the gauntlet were missing and the pieces were too rusted for it to be of good use. Since we do have extra time this morning, I can go with you to the support department to talk to Power Loader. He is the head of the department and is good at making or repairing gear. Shota closed the folder he had and stood up. Class, you have nothing important for homeroom today. Just work silently on anything you might have gotten from your other teachers. Me and Midoriya will be back. He began to walk for the door, Izuku following him out. He put so much trust in us, Denki said as he realized their teacher left them alone for a solid half hour or 40 minutes. Don't ruin it, Kyoka said as she pulled out her phone to find music sheets. Why would I do that? Denki asked. We both are the troublemakers of the class and I was planning on it. Hanta shrugged. Don't do anything stupid, Togaru stated as he kicked back in his seat and stared at the ceiling. It was an oddity to see Shota Aizawa actually in the hallways at UA. While not looking pissed off or in his sleeping bag, most people being confused about that, as well as seeing the well-known clear-eyed boy next to him, holding a gauntlet that most people could recognize. They were walking silently to the support department and Shota was observing how people were reacting to Izuku in the halls. It ticked him off that the other students all would stare at him. It should have been common knowledge at this point that Izuku was a student here and the other kids should have the decency to not stare at the boy. Izuku was handling it either really well or was too preoccupied with the trip to the support department to fix his father's gauntlet, the boy holding it like it was the most precious thing in the world on the way there. Shota didn't blame Izuku for how he acting with the gauntlet. He was actually a fan of Spitfire back when he was enrolled at UA. The man was actually who Shota had interned under. He didn't take the death well when he found out. Here's the support department, Shota stated as they stopped in front of a large door. Shota opened it and they both heard talking inside. Hatsum, put that down, a man ordered a pink-haired girl. But Majima-sensei, the pink-haired girl argued. I need this for my baby. No, Hatsum. I said to wait until I get more. That's our last one, the man, who was Higari Majima, the pro-hero power loader, sighed. He turned to Shota when he man made a coughing sound. Aizawa, what brings you here? He wants to know if you can fix his gauntlet. Shota waved to Izuku next to him. Customers, the pink-haired girl, Hatsum asked in excitement. She ran up to Izuku, trying to get a look at his gauntlet, which he held tightly. Hatsum, don't scare other students. Higari sighed. She's easily excited by gear. I bet I can add a launcher to it. Mei stated. No, Izuku said defensively. I just want my father's gauntlet fixed like he had it. Higari then realized who he was looking at. You're Hisashi's boy. You have his gauntlet. Higari approached Izuku. I built him every version of his gauntlet. Which one do you have? Izuku held the rusted gear out to Higari. I don't know which version. Higari took the gauntlet carefully. I remember this. We called this Type 12, the last one we made together while enrolled here together. It's a good gauntlet, but time hasn't been kind. Higari made sure to not let Mei touch it. This can be repaired. It'll take me a few days since I will have to order in specific parts for it. Would you like a stand-in while I fix it? I only want my father's. Izuku shook his head. Higari liked how Izuku looked up to his father. I can respect that. The stand-in would actually be a model of his first glove since I actually still have that here with me. Izuku perked up at that. Can I see it? For sure. It's over here. Higari went over to another room that had stored gear. What are your measurements? Hatsum asked Izuku. Why? Izuku asked. That way I can make more gear. Hatsum answered. I only want my father's gauntlet. Izuku repeated. Hatsum made a pout. What's wrong with my babies? What? Izuku looked confused. He didn't know people their age had kids. Shota was going to say something as well but decided to just stay back and not do anything. My babies. Hatsum pointed to a table with some partly built objects on it. Those? Izuku wasn't as confused anymore. Do you call them that because of you making them? Someone finally gets it. Hatsum nodded. Higari came back with a box. His first gauntlet wasn't technically a gauntlet as much as it was a glove with a tube taped to it. Higari opened the box and inside was a leather gloves with metal covering the knuckles and a tube that had straps that looked long enough to go up Izuku's arm to his mouth. You are his son, so I won't even hesitate to give this to you. Thank you. Izuku took the glove carefully. I will try to have the gauntlet fixed personally by Friday. Higari said. Hope that glove suits you well till then. Thank you again. Izuku said. Returning to the classroom, Shota was surprised that every kid was sitting in their seats and not burning down the classroom. A few in particular he figured would be doing something stupid. Thank you, Aizawa-sensei. Izuku had a small smile as he moved to his seat. Shota gave a nod while hiding his own smile, glad to help the boy. You all have your first heroics class today after lunch. I will not be teaching it, but from time to time I will be involved in those classes. Can you tell us our teacher if we guess them? Ijiro asked. No, just wait till then, Shota said. Best genist. Hanta guessed. He's in America right now, doofus. Denki said. You're in America, doofus. Hanta shot back. You're both idiots. Tagaru spoke. At lunch they had taken the same tables they had before. Kiyotaka was again not with them. Does Iketmitsu not like us, or is he just a loner? Ijiro asked. He seems like a loner. Mina said. Well, he is missing out on a fun group. Denki said. It's his loss. Hey you, a pink blur showed up and was standing really close to Izuku in his corner seat. It was that girl Hatsum from the support department. I didn't get to say my offer before you left. Sorry, Izuku apologized. It's okay, I was going to say this. I am Mei Hatsum, and if you ever change your mind and want any of my babies, you just say the word. You can have as many of my babies as you want. Izuku nodded. If I change my mind, I will let you know. Excellent, Mei smiled. I'll see you later. No doubt. With that, the pink-haired girl left. Everyone in 1A was looking at the two in confusion. They thought Izuku wasn't as aware of things and found what just occurred to be weird. They all reacted by some of them saying questions all at once. Midoriya, did you just agree to have a girl's kids? Ochako asked. Player Denki clapped Izuku's back. This man is pulling girls already. She is hot too. What a god. Hanta agreed. I want to be the godmother, Pony exclaimed. How did you even have that offer in the first place? Tetsu asked. Here I was thinking we would have to teach him how to flirt. Tagaru stated. Midoriya, please don't make any babies while you are still in school. Tenya asked. Why did you agree to considering having a girl's babies? Midoriya Momo asked. Izuku got confused by half of what they all said. She is from the support department, so you are pulling girls from a different department, Denki said, surprised he didn't get some of the hotties here. Kyoka jabbed him with one of her earphone jacks at that point. I didn't pull her. She came over here on her own, Izuku replied. By any chance does she mean something else other than actually babies when she says that? Katsuki asked. That's what she calls her gear she makes, Izuku answered. Everyone made a no sound as they now understood what happened. Can't believe we all legitimately just believed that Midoriya and Hatsum agreed to have a kid. Mishirel laughed. Technically more than one. She did say as many as he wants. Hanta pointed out. We just all assumed Midoriya. Denki was laughing too. Why would I do that? Izuku asked. Aren't we too young to do that? Okay, at least he knows what that means. Tetsu said. He's a sweet boy. Mina said. He's too innocent to think people our age screw. Do you? Denki asked. No, Mina replied dryly. Don't ask people that. I like Midoriya for things like that. Hanta said. He's too innocent in that regard and has no shame, so he is honest about everything. Let's test it. Denki said. Midoriya when? Kyoka jabbed her earphone jack into Denki again. Shut up and don't mess with him. Izuku watched everyone with partial confusion. I'm not innocent. I killed the guards at the compound. Innocent still. Those were people who had no concern for human life if they would torture a child with no remorse. Katsuki stated. We mean innocent like you have a naiveness to you. Mina said. You're honest and don't try to be mean. Suyu added. Oh, Izuku nodded. Okay, I'm planning on teaching Midoriya how to flirt now. Denki stated. He'll be a real lady killer. I don't want to kill any ladies. Izuku said. That's not what he meant. Kyoka gave Denki a look. You're definitely not the one to teach him how to talk to girls. Why not? Denki asked in defense. You kinda come across as the class pervert, Tagaru said in between bites of his lunch. You told Midoriya his caretaker was hot the second you found out who she was. Mina waved her arms. I can teach Midori to flirt. No one is bothering to ask him if he already knows or wants to learn. Achako pointed out. I don't know how to. Izuku admitted. How do I? When you see a girl who is attractive, you gotta let her know in a smooth fashion that you think she is attractive. Denki answered. Not as bad as what I thought he would answer. Kyoka remarked. So I tell a girl she is attractive? Izuku asked, thinking that he technically did that to Shoko twice already. I flirted before then. With who? Hanta asked. Izuku didn't want to answer because he didn't want to embarrass Shoko, who was sitting across from him at the table. Shoko guessed she was who he was referring to. She was also learning how to flirt from what Denki was saying and had the same thoughts as Izuku. But did what they said even count as flirting? You don't gotta tell us. Tetsu said. Why not practice though? Hey Todoroki, can he practice with you? Tetsu only asked her since she was the closest female to him at the table by sitting across from him. Shoko's face heated up, but she managed to keep it from being obvious. Let someone else who is more experienced do it. Mina waved her arms again. That's me. You really want to be involved in this whole thing, don't you? Ijiro asked. I call myself a love expert, Mina declared. I would be perfect for teaching Midori. You can't just call yourself an expert on something. Hanta argued. Do you have proof of your expertise? Quiet elbows, Mina countered. I am the love expert of this class as of now. Class leaders have to approve of this, Tagaru stated. The pink girl turned to Momo and Tenya. Declare me the love expert. How'd she trademark that very? Katsuki asked, apparently being the only one to notice. Momo and Tenya shared a look before looking at Mina. I guess you are the love expert of 1A now, Momo stated. Hell yeah, Mina pumped her fist. I'm the love expert. How are you doing that? Katsuki repeated his question with no answer. The bell rang, meaning it was the end of lunch. Guess you gotta do you love experting later, Ijiro said. Oh, I will, Mina stated. I'm going to make this whole class feel the power of my love experting. Are you taking apprentices? Pony asked. You're hired, Mina nodded. Together we will make this whole school feel love. I got chills. Tetsu laughed. You laugh now. Mina pointed a finger at him. But you'll see. Back in the classroom, they all waited for Shota to give them their final message before he left them to their heroics class teacher. I expect you all to be serious in your training and to not rush into anything, Shota said. It is never wise to rush right in during anything in training or in the actual field. That's all I have for you. I'm leaving now because he is loud. With that, Shota walked out of the classroom. Final bets on our teacher? Denki asked. No gambling, Kaminari. Tenya scolded him. All right, never said we had to place money anyways. Geez, Denki responded. The door flew open and a hulking large blonde man was there. I am entering like a normal person. It's All Might, Ochako said with excitement. Indeed, All Might smiled. Is it really a normal entrance if you yell that during it? Tagaru asked. If you say it every time you enter, then yeah, Katsuki said. Nice entrance. Ijiro grinned. I am the teacher of the Foundational Heroic Studies class and today is your first class students. Today we will be doing battle trials, All Might announced. Nice. Tagaru grinned. That's not all. Using the forms given with your applications and any other given notes, we have these for you. All Might pressed a button on the wall, and the wall opened to reveal 20 identical suitcases that were numbered from 1 to 20. In the suitcase that is your seat number, you will find the first edition of your hero suits. Awesome. Mina had a smile. I'm going to look amazing, Denki grinned. Are you going to be wearing a giant Pikachu onesie? Katsuki asked the electric blonde. Kyoka laughed at the question. What will you be wearing? A giant grenade? Denki shot back. Yes, Katsuki answered. Really? Denki looked surprised. One on each of my arms. Katsuki nodded. Dope. Toguru nodded. All of you come get your hero suits, change into them, and meet me at the 4th gate of Ground Beta, All Might said as he walked out of the class. Izuku grabbed the case numbered for his desk. What's your costume? Midori Pony asked as she got her case. Let's not spoil each other's hero suits, Ijiro said. Everyone should suit up and show them off then. Let's name a coolest outfit, Mina said. Why not call it the best costume? That way we can also factor in practicality and any other factors, Tenya said. You make it sound like a school project, Hanta said. You're just lame, Katsuki said. This could be a good class moment, so I'm in. Everyone knows you have grenades though, Denki said. Kinda spoiled part of your suit. Well, luckily I have more than just gauntlets, Katsuki replied. Everyone knows I have my father's gauntlet, Izuku pointed out. Let's just go get in the suits. Toguru left. Yeah, let's go guys. Tetsu agreed. My suit is definitely gonna win, Mina declared as she finished changing. I look hot as can be, and it is practical because it doesn't melt from my acid. I think I should have been clearer with my wording for my suit, Ochako said. What's being with it, Tsuyu asked. I needed it to press on pressure points so I don't get nauseous while using my quirk, but they made it skin tight everywhere. Can you move around normally in it? Kyoka asked. I can. I'm just worried that it will look like I am trying to show off things I am not trying to, Ochako replied. Understandable, especially with someone like Kaminari around, Kyoka stated. He's not too overly perverted, but he will probably say something. Tsuyu, at least you don't have to worry about some of the guys in our class. I doubt some of them care enough about the female body yet, Mina said. Midori definitely is one of them, Pony said. Tem and Kamakiri are the two I would guess don't care. Kamakiri does seem to only want to train or fight, Tsuyu agreed. Katz also. He did say how he spent so much time only training because of his goal to save Midoriya. Katz, Mina repeated. Did I miss something? I like when my friends call me Tsu, and he said in fairness that he should have a nickname as well, and I call him Katz, Tsuyu explained. Mina felt her love expert senses tingling. She wouldn't say anything now, but she had plans for later. Shoko ignored the talking as she tucked her red hair underneath the ice-like material that was a headpiece. It covered the left side of her face, the half she got from her father that she despised. My suit definitely takes the cake on coolness, Denki said. I look like I am ready to fight crime and DJ a party. What playlist do you even have? Won't matter once our band gets going, Katsuki said as he strapped one of his boots on. We'll get every gig, Izuku asked as he wrapped his scarf back around his neck. Another word for a job at a place for a band, Katsuki explained. No offense, Denki, but my suit beats yours, Hanta stated as he tapped his fist against his. This bad boy has more coolness. Hiyataka left in annoyance at that point. Midoriya, yours also looks nice, Huryu said. Izuku nodded as he looked in a mirror. Izuku's outfit consisted of dark green pants that ended halfway down his calves, wooden Geta sandals, a sleeveless snow-white haori that went down to his upper thighs tied loosely with a green rope. Izuku had his father's original glove on his right hand and his mother's scarf wrapped around his neck with a loose end dropping over his left shoulder. It looks nice, Toguru said as he fixed his mask. Your father's gear is the only gear you have. Yeah, your suit seems like it has no enhancements. Tetsu fixed his face guard. My Shikitsamiyaku can do a lot, so I don't need extra gear, Izuku explained. Your suit looks nice though, Katsuki said. Does it have any meaning to it? I had clothing like this while I was training with my aunts and uncle, Izuku answered. They're not real family, but they feel close enough. Izuku was referring to the cats. You look like all you need is a katana and you'd be a samurai, Denki commented. You should get one. He can make those from his bones, Hanta pointed out. Well, let's go do this outfit competition, then rock our battle trials. Tetsu clapped his hands as he led the guys out of the locker room. The two groups meet up at the 4th entrance to Ground Beta. Midori, you have no right being that ripped, Mina shouted when she was able to see that the clear-eyed boy had possibly the best body out of all of the guys. I'm sorry, Izuku responded with confusion. He does have super strength, Ijiro stated. Doesn't mean he have to look like some ancient Greek guy carved him out of perfect marble, Mina replied. Izuku started to turn red in the face. Ashido, you're embarrassing him, Katsuki said. Focus on something else. Okay, let's talk about your muscles. Mina smirked. I work out. Obviously, duh. Mina gave him a dumb look. Wow, yeah, Yurazu, Denki said as he noticed the female class leader's outfit, which was something pretty revealing. Don't say anything stupid, Kyoka said as she gave Denki a look. I wasn't going to say anything crude. Denki looked offended. I was going to ask how she could have an outfit like that. Momo's outfit consisted of a crimson leotard that was open down the middle and didn't leave much open to anyone's imagination. Momo have Denki a look. My quirk makes everything I create pop out of my skin. I would have had less if regulations didn't prevent that. My bones are why I don't have much, Izuku said. I didn't want to keep ripping things. Shoko's cheeks reddened when she looked at Izuku. His muscles were definitely like Mina described, but she wouldn't say anything like what Mina said. She frowned when she started to notice the many faded scars that riddled Izuku's body. No one was talking about them at all, but everyone was thinking about them, and it was actually something that bothered them all. There wasn't a spot they could see that didn't have a scar on it, and they could only assume that there were more where they couldn't be seen. "Where's Akitmitsu?" Momo asked. "Over there." Hanta pointed to the gate that All Might was also at and unlocking. Kiyotaka had on a simple black suit and a green gas mask that covered his entire face, as well as 2 oxygen tanks on his back that were hooked up to the mask. "It looks cool, but he isn't really participating with us, so he's out," Togaru stated. "Well, whose suit has the most practicality to their quirk?" Tenya asked. "Either Yaoyorozu or Midoriya, really," Huryu said. "Or Takoyami. Their 3 outfits are made considering their quirks and made to not hinder them." "I think it's Takoyami's," Izuku spoke up. "His dark clothing creates shadows under the cloak that can strengthen dark shadow even during the day." Fumikage nodded. "Nice observation, Midoriya. That is why I made my outfit like this. I figured you just had a goth aesthetic," Huryu commented. "Like your Chinese one?" Hanta asked. "I am Chinese," Huryu deadpanned. "My bad." Hanta apologized sheepishly. "So Takoyami wins practicality." Tenya nodded. "How about look overall?" All Might had approached them at that point, but he let the kids continue their discussion. They had a huge part of the afternoon for the battle trials, and it was nice to see a class that had quickly come together as a group within a short amount of time. "Look as in how it complements their style, and how cool the outfit is, right?" Mashiro asked. "Oh, Midori wins that," Pony said. "Yeah, his outfit speaks loudly, saying silent badass," and the Denki stopped when he was about to say something about the scars. "My scars?" Izuku asked. "Sorry, dude." Denki looked down. "It's okay." Izuku shook his head. "But then I think he wins overall feel," Tetsu said. "I like Cat's outfit," Tsuyu said. "It shows he is explosive like his quirk." "Komori's dress is like a mushroom. Her quirk is mushrooms," Togaru said, causing the mushroom girl to start blushing. In their own conversation, Izuku looked at Shoko. "I like your hero suit." He liked how the ice made her pale skin stand out a little, which made her gray eye stand out just as much. The only thing he didn't like was the red covering over her left eye that blocked her pretty turquoise eye. Shoko was getting annoyed with herself at this point with how easily she would start to feel her cheeks redden every time Izuku said anything to her. Sure, he was a nice person, and it was a major point of interest to her how he could use quirks that had a negative impact on his life, but it was odd for her to act like that. "Thank you. Your hero outfit looks nice as well." She did like the balance of white and green. He had the green made his eyes stand out. His eyes were something she liked a lot. Even if they weren't as happy and full of life as they were when the two of them were for, those emerald eyes of his were still something she liked. "What about Todoroki's whole ice thing?" Tetsu asked. "I think it looks neat." Shoko didn't have a reaction to the steel quirk user saying something positive about her suit like when Izuku had. "It does say a lot about her ice." Achako agreed. "I like Ada's whole night thing he has going," Huryu said. "Makes him look intimidating since he already is big and tough. The whole suit just adds to that." Sue's outfit makes her look more like a frog, and that is her whole thing, Katsuki said. "Can we just get started with the battle trials already?" Kiyotaka asked with an annoyed tone. Most of everyone looked at Kiyotaka in surprise, wondering why he was so angry about this. "Dude, chill," Ijiro said. "All Might Sensei is fine with this, so relax. The whole debate of style of gear and outfits is idiotic. Function is more important than style when it comes to support gear." Kiyotaka had a mad look under his mask. "This whole debate is a waste of time." "What a buzzkill," Katsuki muttered. All Might decided to interject and start the class to avoid having some of the kids fight. "Alright kids, I shall explain the rules of our first class. The battle trials are a mock simulation of an event that happened back in my days in America. You will be split into teams of 2 at random and will either be the hero team or the villain team in the situation." All Might explained. "Why at random?" Ochako asked. "Because a situation can and will happen at any point, and you might have to team up with a random hero to handle it," Izuku explained. "Like the raid that happened on the compound I was a hostage at. This is a test of how we can operate in a team on the spot with only a little bit of thinking ahead of time." Momo added, "Young Yaoyorozu and Midoriya, you are both correct in your reasons for the random teams. You never know when a situation calls for an impromptu team up, and you will all draw lots for what team you will end up on, and I will have you draw another card to decide your opponents and what sides you'll be on. This exercise is indoors, as most of the time the crafty villains will find a way to battle you inside of a building, so the defensive team will get 5 minutes to prep the building with traps and the like to prevent the offensive team from doing their own heroics. What is the goal for the attackers? Katsuki asked. The offensive team must either capture both defensive team members with the supplied capture tape or have them incapacitated, or the main objective of getting their hands on a bomb the defensive team have stashed in the building that the defensive team must defend. Prep phase will be 5 minutes and action phase will be 10 minutes. The rest of the class will be with me watching as you go through the trial, and we will discuss how everything was after each match. Both teams will have mics to talk to each other, but the viewers can hear everything once the action phase begins. Any questions? All Might pointed to Fumikage when the bird-headed boy raised a hand. Yun Takoyami. The defenders can move the bomb wherever they desire in the building, I presume. Fumikage said. Indeed. The defensive team can move the bomb wherever they want as long as it is in the building. All Might nodded. Neat. Let's get our teams going. Tagaru was excited for a fight. Everyone grab a card out of here. All Might showed a bin full of cards. You will be paired with the person who shares the same number as you. After that I will go up the teams letting them draw for their opponents, and the teams who draw get to choose their of either offense or defense. Everyone drew their cards. Izuku had gotten a 10. Who has a 3? Tetsu asked. Right here, man. Ajiro grinned. Hell yeah. Tetsu high-fived the redhead. 5. Tagaru held up his card. 5 here, Tenya said as he showed his card. Nice team up. Tagaru nodded. We shall be good. Tenya agreed. Who has a 6? Hiryu asked. That's me, Achako said as she showed her card. Your gravity and my scales. That's a good combo, Hiryu stated. We got this. Achako pumped her fist in the air. Who has 7? Shoko asked and saw Kiyotaka reveal his card with a 7. He didn't say anything at all. Midoriya, do you have a 10? Kanoko asked nervously. She wasn't afraid of Izuku, she was just shy in general. Izuku nodded. I have a 10. The rest of the teams were decided and All Might had them draw again. Team 1, you can draw first. All Might held the cards to Momo and Kyoka. Momo grabbed the cards and pulled out a 2, meaning they were going against Katsuki and Pony. I think we should take offense, Momo said to her teammate. Works with me. Kyoka nodded. Excellent. Team 3, you are next to pick. All Might handed the cards to Ijiro and Tetsu. The hardening quirk user let the steel quirk user pick their card. Tetsu pulling out a 5, meaning they would go against Tenya and Tagaru. This is a great match, Tagaru said, happy about his opponents. We got offense. Both guys on Team 3 said at the same time, fist bumping as they said it. Excellent. Now for Team 4 to pick. All Might handed the cards to Denki and Fumikage, the bird boy letting the electric blonde choose. We got Team 9, Denki announced. We got Asui and Ajiro defending. That is fine, Meshiro nodded. Team 6, it is your turn. All Might handed the last few cards to Hiryu and Achako. Hiryu hesitated before he picked a card. The final 3 teams were teams he was worried about, especially Izuku's team or Shoko's team. Those two had already shown that they had powerful quirks and were a force to be reckoned with. Mina and Hanta was also a good team, but not anywhere as intimidating to Hiryu as going against Shoko and Kiyotaka, or especially Izuku and Kanoko. He took a breath before he pulled out a card that showed the number 8. We got a 8. We're attacking against Ashido and Zero. Excellent. That means that Team 7 and Team 10 will go against each other. Team 7, would you like to attack or defend? All Might looked at Shoko and Kiyotaka. Attack. Shoko answered when Kiyotaka didn't. Okay, now that all matches have been made, I request that match 1 participants go to the designated building. Those ropes will guide you there, while everyone else follows me to the viewing area. All Might lead the majority of the class. Good luck, guys, Ijiro said to every participant of match 1. Everyone give it your all. Yeah, it would be pretty disrespectful to each other to not. Tetsu agreed. What's the plan? Horns Katsuki asked as he carried the bomb. I have a plan, but we should make sure we have a good one. Pony poked her chin and thought. Gyro can hear well and Yaoyorozu can make just about anything, so we would have to be careful. Why not set up on the top floor to buy time? That works. Katsuki nodded as they went up the stairs. So how do we counter Gyro's hearing that will affect us quicker than Yaoyorozu's quirk? My horns. Pony snapped her fingers. Katsuki was about to ask what she meant when he caught on. Right, her hearing won't locate us if we aren't walking around. Can your horns support our weight? Pony's horns popped off, new ones growing instantly in their place. Yep, we can just float around on them and jump those too. The ceilings are high here, so we can float up and then bam, drop down before they can react. I like it. Katsuki grinned. Yaoyorozu might wait to assess the situation before wasting her cells to create something. So if we hit her quick enough that she doesn't have time to react, then we are set to win. Momo looked at the building, trying to think of any possible plan to counter any traps that the 2 defenders might place. Kyoka gave her teammate a look. What you got? Bakugo can be aggressive, but he doesn't come across as a pure aggressive fighter, so we shouldn't expect him to come to us for a fight. Tsunotori has speed and is good at long range with her horns. Our best bet is to go in together and use your quirk to make sure they don't get the drop on us. Momo created a staff as she spoke, her best fighting style. Slow and cautious. Kyoka nodded. Does anyone want to make predictions? All Might asked the viewing section of the class as the timer ran down. Izuku raised his hand, not speaking because he was waiting for All Might to call on him. What do you think, young Midoriya? The match all depends on how quickly Yaoyorozu can react to Katsuki. Izuku started. The other two are good, but Yaoyorozu and Katsuki have the strength of their teams. If Katsuki can react quick enough to Katsuki, the match will be theirs, but if Katsuki can detain her before she can counter, it is his and Pony's match. Bakugo's explosions are a force to be reckoned with. Tagaru agreed. Plus Gyro's hearing can probably alert them real quick if the defenders move too fast or get antsy. This is about who has more patience at this point. Match 1 begin. All Might announced the start of the first match. We should stay as quiet as possible, Katsuki whispered to Pony as they sat on the floating horns close to the ceiling above the one staircase they didn't blockade to the 5th floor. Pony responded with a nod and a thumbs up, staring at the doorway below them, ready to get the drop in the two attackers. I'm not hearing anything, Kyoka said as she had an earphone jack plugged into the wall of the building, the two girls stopping right inside the door to listen for movement. Nothing, Momo said as she knit her brows. Where could they be? The best location would arguably be the 5th floor, since searching everything till we get there would take up a lot of our time, Kyoka said. I'm not picking up any sounds, so they must be not moving, so we can't find them. Which means they are somewhere they can see us when the time comes, Momo thought out loud. We should move carefully. I doubt that Bakugo would stay still for too long, Kyoka stated as they started to go up to the 5th floor. He doesn't act as aggressive as Kamakiri, but he will definitely get impatient. Katsuki was definitely eager to get going. He was tapping his finger slightly, not enough to make a easily noticeable sound thankfully, but he was still doing it. He was really itching to do something, and the weight was starting to get to him. Pony could tell that he was getting antsy, so she moved the horn she was on closer to his and grabbed his finger to get it to stop tapping. She shook her head silently and he nodded. He stopped the tapping. She gave a smile before moving back to her spot on the opposite side of the doorway. A minute passed before they heard the other team start to come up the stairs. Momo was leading with her staff at the ready, and Kyoka had one earphone jack in her boot speaker and the other in her hand, and she would occasionally put into the wall to hear more. Katsuki was itching to just drop down on them, but he waited until they got past him. Once they were, he nodded to Pony and leapt down in between the two girls, aiming his palms at each of them and releasing an explosion on them both. They both got pushed away from the explosive blonde as he went after Momo, who used her split second before he got to her to make a shield from her right forearm, using it to block a blast from the guy. Pony dropped down and sent the two horns she and Katsuki had used as a place after Kyoka, one going into the girl's shoulder with the blunt end and the other got dodged. Momo made a smaller staff and tried to hit Katsuki, but he blasted it away and aimed his gauntlet at her. Yaoyorozu, stand down, Katsuki said as he put his other arm on a pin for the gauntlet. I know you're smart and can figure out what I use this gauntlet for. You shouldn't try to see if you can make a bigger shield before this goes off. Katsuki was bluffing, of course. At the range they were, the blast would injure her way too much for a simple battle trial class. It was a mock situation, however, and in real situations people do get threats like those. And he was aggressive enough that it was believable that he would. Momo eyed the gauntlet. It stores sweat, doesn't it? Yep. Pin is holding it back from going boom, Katsuki said. That blast would be too big to risk in a class setting, Momo stated. Katsuki mentally cursed. He knew Momo was smart, but he was hoping she would make a slip up. Momo dropped down in a sweeping kick. Katsuki released his hand on the pin. He wouldn't use it in close combat. He dodged the sweep by jumping up and using an explosion to send himself into Momo, attempting to knee her in. Momo made another staff pop out of her at a high speed that crashed into Katsuki's knee and successfully blocked the attack. Katsuki cursed as he fixed his stance. That was really creative, Katsuki said as he tried to assess his knee. Thank you, Momo said as she gripped the staff. You're not bad either. Kyoka used her speaker to send a blast to knock Pony off of her feet. The blonde recovered really fast and made a new plan. She popped all 4 horns she could control at that point out and sent them at Kyoka, planning to send them all blunt end first and knock Kyoka out. The earphone girl made another heartbeat blast and sent more power into it, hoping to knock both defenders out with it. Swap, Katsuki shouted as he sent a blast at Momo. Okay, Pony brought her horns back and sent them at Momo, too fast for the creation user to react. All in one got through her guard and hit her stomach hard enough to take the win from her. Katsuki was far enough from Kyoka and Pony wasn't in the way, so he aimed his gauntlet at the ground in between him and the earphone girl, quickly pulling the pin. What are you doing? Kyoka asked. Cutting you off, Katsuki said as the explosion went off and shattered the floor in between them, making a large hole in the hallway and effectively cutting Kyoka off from them. Good swap. Pony have a thumbs up as she used her quicker speed and got in Momo's guard. She wasted no time in uppercutting the leading girl of the class, who fell backwards from the attack. Wrap her up, Katsuki said. Right, Pony nodded as she pulled out the supplied capture tape and wrapped up Momo before she could get out of the hold. Katsuki turned to Kyoka on the other side of the floorless hallway. We have your teammate hero, Katsuki said in a deep voice. Surrender now. When did we decide to be villains? Pony looked at Katsuki. The blonde shrugged in response. We have a big bomb, feels right. Momo attempted get out of the tape, but Pony tapped her head with a horn she was holding. That's a no-no, hero. Momo had a slightly annoyed look at the tap from the horn. Kyoka sighed. I guess I have no choice. The attackers surrender. Defenders win, All Might announced on the speakers. Yeah, Pony jumped up and cheered. That was fun. Katsuki had a smile as he untied Momo. That block you did with the staff was genius. Thank you. Momo gave a smile to Katsuki. How are you guys leaving if you blocked the other doors and broke the floor? Kyoka asked. Tsunotori can have us glide over on her horns. Katsuki answered. Not calling me Tsunotori anymore. Pony shook her head. We're battle trial buddies now, so you have to call me Pony. Okay, Pony. Katsuki didn't question the girl. Let's get going though so we can let the next match start. The 4 participants of match 4 had returned and they were all lined up facing the class. Alright class, now. And after every match, we will have an evaluation by the viewers to discuss notes of the match and select someone who has earned the title of MVP. All Might said. What does MVP get extra credit? Tenya asked. That's kinda lame. Denki commented. The MVPs will actually have their reward during the first class next week. All Might answered. Is it a reward or a position in the next class? Izuku asked. It is a position, yes, young Midoriya. All Might answered him. Neat. Hanta nodded. Tagaru raised his hand. They all did well considering what the other team threw at them. Tsunotori's horns came in clutch really, so I think she is MVP. Without them they couldn't even get to drop down in Yaoyorozu and Gyro. She was also the one to capture Yaoyorozu. Yeah, but Bakugo separated the attackers, used a bluff play, even if that didn't work, and managed to create a situation where Gyro had to surrender because the floor was gone. He even made sure that no one would get hurt by his large explosion. Ijiro countered. MVP stuff right there. Plus Bakugo did have the switch play in use that caught Yaoyorozu off guard for Tsunotori to capture. Katsuki spoke next. Even though I am not supposed to be involved in this, I say Tsunotori. Pony. The said girl interrupted Katsuki to correct him. The explosive teen made a face. Pony should be MVP. I was getting too antsy and she got me to not just go at them too early. You still did more than me with that whole floor-breaking business. Pony argued. You're MVP. We aren't involved in this, so you can't declare me MVP like that. Katsuki stated. All Might enjoyed seeing how the kids thought the other should be MVP. How about we let the class vote in between you two? Bakugo for sure. Ijiro said. Just do a raise of hands. Yelling out who you want is confusing. Tenya stated. Everyone for Bakugo raise your hands. Izuku, Tetsu, Ijiro, Tsuyu, Huryu, Ochako, Mashurao, Denki and Hanta all raised their hands. That's 10 out of 16. Denki said. Surprised you counted that high. Hanta laughed. Did you? Denki asked the tape quirk holder. No man. Can you teach me? Hanta laughed again. Anyways, Bakugo, this makes you the MVP of match 1. All Might said. Pa. Pony jabbed Katsuki lightly. Told you. Doesn't change my opinion, but I will accept this, I guess. Katsuki shrugged. Match 2, if you 4 would kindly go to the building now. All Might said. On it, Ijiro clapped his hands. Kamakiri, I believe we should use the wreckage from Bakugo's destruction to our advantage. Tenya said as they entered the building. The insect-like teen nodded. If that works for you, then sure. Hope you don't mind the fact that I plan on fighting the boneheads straight on. You don't plan on staying with the bomb? Tenya asked. There are 4 rooms past the part of the hallway Bakugo destroy. If the bomb is there, then those 2 have to waste time going the long way around to get there, since it is an outer hall and nothing else gets to it except not a single hole on the other side of the floor. Keep that blocked and have to waste time going all the way around the floor just to get to those rooms. You're fast enough to just outrace those 2 and such. I can distract them farther down and either take them both down or waste their time, because I won't go down easy. They're blockheads who are all offense. They're smart, but battle-wise they both focus on just hitting hard and expecting their quirks to be their defense. Tagaru finished talking. That is well thought out. Tenya stated. I love this stuff. Not as much as my insects, but this is fun. Tagaru said. My reflexes will keep me from being hit immediately, and capture tape is useless on me since I can make sharp blades from everywhere on my body. I can't be tied with that stuff, so they have to knock me out. With their quirks, wouldn't that be easy? Tenya pointed out. I've been best friends with Tetsu for years. Tagaru said. Trust me, I can take a hit. What's the plan, man? Ijiro asked his steel quirk teammate. I was gonna ask you. Tetsu laughed. My plans would be predictable to Tagaru. Me and him have been bros for years, so he would know what to expect from you definitely. Sucks that we all sparred together, so he already know me and you fight pretty much the same way. Ijiro stated. Yeah, however we also have me who knows most likely exactly what Tagaru would do. He's probably going to want to fight us. Well, yeah, but 2-on-1, Ijiro asked. Are you kidding? Tetsu asked. That would excite him more. He loves a challenge and gets tunnel vision for any challenge he gets. Imagine fighting 2 people who have counters for your quirk at the same time. He probably is thinking of how fun it is and is itching to fight us. His reflexes and speed are also two-notch, so he will be difficult. Add an Ida with the best speed in class and they dominate the speed of this match, Ijiro stated. Wait, they will expect us to rush in since that is probably what you are thinking. Yeah, were you? Tetsu asked. Yep, let's not do that, Ijiro said. The redhead turned to look at the building next to the one they were supposed to have their match in. All Might said we can't enter the building yet, right? Yay, why? Tetsu followed Ijiro's gaze and looked at the building next to the one for the battle trials. He immediately knew what Ijiro was thinking. He didn't say we couldn't enter the other buildings during this time, however. Tetsu grinned. Let's do this. All Might had a grin as he watched the 2 students enter another building. He didn't say they couldn't enter other buildings. What are your thoughts on this matchup, class? The teacher asked the 16 kids around him. While Kamakiri definitely had a good plan, he and Ida are gonna lose, Tatsuki said. Tetsu and Kirishima do have predictable styles, but the fact that they have each other right now to outfocus on that they are thinking outside of the box, as shown with them entering the other building. The building they entered is taller and they can use the roof to drop into the roof of the actual building they need to enter by using their quirks to soften their landing, Izuku added. At this point, because of Bakugo, everyone is just going to want to plant the bomb on the 5th floor or not, since that spot is obviously the best spot now. However, Tetsu and Kirishima know that it should be around there, or they are planning on attacking from the back by going down the building instead of up, Kyoka said. I made the building cooler, Katsuki smirked. Or more difficult, Hiryu added. So when does our match start? Tetsu asked as they went up the stairs of the 4th floor of the side building. Probably less than a minute, his red-headed teammate guessed. We should be close to the top floor then. Right, this building is only a floor taller, so we both just take a running jump to the other roof with our quirks active to avoid any scrapes, and then we search the 5th floor first. If they did put the bomb in that floor, then we are set early on, Tetsu stated. Especially if Kamakiri is doing what you said and would be closer to the 1st floor for a fight. We will effectively go around him. Ijiro had a grin. He will figure it though. After a minute he might assume we are being slow and cautious or found a way around him, Tetsu said as they got to the roof. Let's do this quickly then. Match 2 begins, All Might announced. Showtime, Tetsu shouted as he turned to steal and ran at the edge of the roof, jumping off to the other roof. Yahoo! Ijiro whooped as his body hardened and he leapt over to the roof as well. Their quirks cushioned their landing, both landing soundly on their feet with wild grins. That was fun, Tetsu grinned. It probably would have been funner with more of a jump, like 3 or 4 stories. Ijiro nodded as they made for the door into the building. We shouldn't overdo that, but yeah, it would be fun. Tetsu agreed. Let's do this fast before Kamakiri catches on, Ijiro said quietly as they got to the 5th floor. You search left and I search right, the silver-haired teen asked. No, the redhead shook his head. Where was that area that only had one hallway to it after Bakugo blew up the floor? Tetsu stopped and tried to think. That way. Tetsu pointed down the hall to their right. Betcha some yen that they're over there, Ijiro stated. I'll take that action. Tetsu nodded. Let's check that first, man. Ijiro grinned as they went down the left path. They faced no resistance at all and heard talking in a room near the large hole that ruined the path. Are you sure they aren't just being hesitant? It was Tenya who was speaking. Ijiro held up a finger to his teammate, signaling they should be really quiet in order to get the best possible jump on Tenya. They weren't hearing Tagaru respond at all, so that means he must be on the mic talking to Tenya. Tetsu nodded to his red-headed teammate, and they both moved as silently as they could over to the door of the room they heard Tenya in. I'll check the halls in case they found a way around you, Kamakiri. The hole is too big for those 2 to get across anyways, so I only need to check one path, Tenya said as he got closer to the door. Both Tetsu and Ijiro pressing against the wall for the best chance to jump Tenya. Tenya walked into the hall and Tetsu, being the closest one, turned to step and sent a left hook right into Tenya's jaw, sending the surprised boy into the doorway. I restrain you, get bombed, the silver-haired teen said to Ijiro as he grappled Tenya to the floor. Ijiro nodded and jumped over them as he ran for the bomb, placing a hand on it with ease. I got it. The attackers have secured the bomb. Offense wins, All Might announced. Sorry if I hit you too hard. Tetsu apologized as he released his grip on Tenya. It's all right, the spectacled teen replied as he rubbed his jaw. In our training we shouldn't go easy on each other. We have to bring out the best in each other, right? I don't think you will get your best by having a steel fist rammed into your jaw. Tetsu deadpan. The 4 participants of Match 2 have returned to the viewing room and were lined up like how Match 1's participants were earlier. Does anyone want to give their impression of how that match went? All Might asked his 16 other students. Tetsu and Kirishima made a good plan, realizing they might be predictable, so they decided to do something completely out there, and it worked. Momo started. Kamakiri had a good plan that would have most likely worked in his favor, but those two doing something impulsive and unique made them win the match with little resistance. MVP can go to Tetsu for restraining it with ease, or to Kirishima for the plan in the first place, although it should be Kirishima in my opinion. Katsuki stated. Yeah, Jiro had a master plan, Mina agreed. Seeing no one disagree with that, All Might nodded. Then Kirishima is MVP of match 2. Nice, Jiro grinned. I'm getting it next time. Tetsu declared, not upset about not getting it this time. You okay, Kamakiri? Kyoka gave the insect kid a look. I wanted a fight. Tagaru looked disappointed. We can have one this afternoon. Tetsu said. Us versus you, like it was supposed to if we hadn't thought ahead. That got the fire started back in Tagaru. Hell yeah. Will match 3's participants please go to their areas? All Might asked as those kids nodded and left. What's the plan? Takoyami Denki asked his bird-headed partner. I believe that you should stay in back and we both go in together. Dark Shadow can block any of Asui and Ajiro's attacks since they are physical fighters who need close combat. Asui might be fast given her frog abilities. Fumikage stated. How much can Dark Shadow take? Denki asked. A lot. He is a creature of darkness and light is his weakness. Had you, Bakugo, Yaoyorozu or Midoriya been on the other team, we would have to be more careful. However, we have a great matchup. Dark Shadow can just block everything and overwhelm them and we will win. If anyone gets inside of his guard and attacks us, we should be able to defend ourselves. Just don't shock me or Dark Shadow and we will be fine. Fumikage finished. Denki whistled. This will be an easy match. I have no proper aiming tools for my electricity yet, but I can release it around me in a small area in case they get close. I'll make sure they aren't gonna touch me. We shouldn't put all of our faith in this plan, however, Fumikage said. As we have seen from the matches before, plans can be changed by whatever our opponents are doing. We should have faith in it but be prepared for changes if necessary. Meshurao had carried the bomb for them. So where should we place this? The 5th floor might be overused and expected at this point. Tsuyu put her finger on her chin. I might be wrong, but from what it looked like while watching the other matches, I believe the 3rd floor has a higher ceiling than the other floors, and the walls of the rooms don't go up to the ceiling there. Meshurao nodded as he followed the frog girl. I assume you plan on using that with your frog-like abilities. Tsuyu nodded. I can hope around and drop on them, but I believe with their abilities I will have to wait for a good moment. Takoyami has Dark Shadow as an extra fighter on his side, and Kaminari can shock us from far range. I don't know what Kaminari's control is with his electricity, but it is still a thing to watch out for. Meshurao nodded. It would probably be best to take out Kaminari first. While Takoyami with Dark Shadow is strong for sure, Kaminari's electricity can stun us at bad times. Meshurao looked at a room. I have an idea about the bomb. What if we put it in a room and block the door to the room from the inside? And both of us climb up to the pipes and tops of the walls to drop down together, kinda like Bakugo and Tsunotori did. So you thought about it for a second. That is a good idea. If we both throw an attack at Kaminari together, we are bound to knock him out or at the least keep him from countering for a minute. And then I focus on Dark Shadow while you focus on Takoyami. You're a close combat specialist, and I believe Takoyami might not be as skilled when he has Dark Shadow to close that gap. I am faster, so I can avoid Dark Shadow easier. That's smart. Meshurao agreed. How about this room right here? The tailed teen pointed with his tail to the room next to him. It looks perfect for our plans. The frog girl nodded. We should get to our positions as quick as we can. Gotcha. The tailed teen nodded and set the bomb down in a corner. I'll block the door. Class, what are your thoughts on this match? All Might asked his students. Takoyami is the powerhouse of the match with his quirk, Tagaru stated. Man is a 2-for-1 deal, and light is pretty much the only way to beat Dark Shadow. You could probably get around the shadow to Takoyami, but that would be difficult. Their best bet is to take out Kaminari first if they want to win for defense. Asui's fast, and Ajiro is probably one of the best close combat persons here when it comes to actual styled fighting. Ajiro added. They could probably pull a win. Match 3 has begun, All Might announced. Let's go, Fumikage said as he started to walk into the building, Dark Shadow in front of him. Let's get a dub, Denki said with excitement. The two walked into the building and began to search the 1st floor for the bomb. After a minute, Denki spoke again. I don't think they have it here. So it seems, Fumikage replied. However, we should check everywhere just to be safe. The two continued to check the 1st floor and continued their search on the 2nd floor, where they also found nothing. Going up to the 3rd floor, they continued the search. Denki got an odd feeling and looked up right as both of their opponents dropped down right next to him. Meshurao wasted no time in swinging his tail for a strike at the electricity quirk teen's back, while Tsuyu hit him with an uppercut to his jaw. Both attacks threw Denki completely off, and Tsuyu quickly tied him up with capture tape. Fumikage whipped around and Dark Shadow got in front of him. I should have guessed that something like that would happen. The bird-headed teen said. It's 2-on-2 now, Mashirao stated. So it seems, the final non-shadow member of the offensive team said. He got into a stance that Mashirao thought needed work, which confirmed what Tsuyu said about Fumikage himself not being as strong offensively due to having Dark Shadow. Remember the plan, Ajiro? Tsuyu reminded her teammate. Yep, the tailed teen nodded and took a second for Tsuyu to begin to attack Dark Shadow, getting the being's attention as it went after her. Mashirao quickly went after Fumikage and went through his form that focused around bouncing off of his tail and striking fast. Fumikage wasn't able to keep up with the strikes after a while and was starting to take a lot of damage. Tsuyu managed to keep R of Dark Shadow's grasp but at the same time continue to get hits on the shadow. She had taken to using her frog-like legs to jump with agility off of the walls and bounce around the hall while avoiding any attacks from the Quirk being. Mashirao did a flip in the air and with the momentum from the swing he hit Fumikage a final time with his extra limb that sent the bird-headed teen to the ground. Dark Shadow turned and tried to attack the tailed teen but Tsuyu yanked it back with a pull from her tongue. Mashirao quickly pulled out his own set of given capture tape and began to wrap the bird boy up. I got him, Mashirao cheered. Both members of the offensive team have been captured. Defensive team wins. All Might announce the end of the match. Dark Shadow cursed. It is all right, Dark Shadow, Fumikage said as Mashirao untied him. We did quite well. I almost got hit a few times. Tsuyu agreed as she took a breath. I can help you with your form, Takoyami, Mashirao stated. I am familiar with it somewhat and it could help you in the future. I appreciate that. The dark teen nodded. I got tied up immediately. Denki pouted as he got untied. Your electricity was something we didn't want to encounter, Mashirao said. You know, you probably could have shocked us even though you got tied up. The frog girl pointed out. The electric teen blinked a few times as he processed that. Well, damn, I am dumb. It is all right. Next time you will get it right, Fumikage reassured them as they went back to the class. The 4 kids were now standing in front of their classmates. Does anyone want to give their thoughts on this match? All Might asked. Asui's plan was great, Mina said. Thinking clearly through everyone's quirks and abilities and making a plan like that was genius. She should definitely get MVP. Tetsu stated and Mashirao nodded. No one said anything against it, so All Might nodded. Then young Asui is the MVP of match 3. The frog girl was beaming at her title. Thanks. Now let's have the participants of match 4 go to the building, All Might said as those 4 kids left. What's the plan? Ashido Hanta asked as he grabbed the bomb, willing to carry it. Mina made an intense look of thinking. I believe I have a cheeky idea for getting this match done as fast as possible if you are interested. A speed run sounds cool. The tape user got interested. Okay, good. The bomb can go anywhere, it doesn't matter, the acid user stated. We are going offensive. Hiryu straightened his visor. So Uraraka, what are your thoughts? Achako looked surprised that she was being asked for ideas first. Oh, I am Ashido and Zero are 2 of the most mobile people in class, so wherever they are somewhere where they can move around easier. That is a good point. The Chinese teen nodded. I also think that Zero is going to be the worst one to run into because he could probably tie us up with his elbow tape with only a few seconds. We should stay on our toes inside. Achako nodded. I think Ashido mentioned that she made her fighting a bit like her dancing, so I think she might be really flexible and mobile while fighting. The Scales quirk user cupped his chin and thought. Would your quirk count as capturing them? They do lose their gravity and any normal way of moving around. Although Zero could just use his tape to pull himself around with it. I think Zero might be the bigger problem on their team, the gravity user stated. Definitely, Hiryu nodded. We shouldn't brush Ashido off either. All Might turn to the 16 kids with him during this matchup. How do you kids think this will go? My dude Hanta is gonna clutch. Denki stated his opinion about his best friend. Man gonna swing through them and turn heads while he knocks heads. You sound like a hype man with an IQ of 12. Kyoka commented. It is 13, get it right. Denki stuck his tongue out at the earphone user. I think that Ashido and Zero will win, Izuku said quietly. Everybody turned to him and he pointed at the screen where Mina and Hanta could be seen. They are doing something that the other 2 will have to react to quick enough just to counter. Okay, so once the teach gives us the word, we both drop, Hanta said as he cut off the end piece of a long thing of his tape and handing it to Mina while the other end of it had gotten stuck to a pole outside. They were currently on the 4th floor of the building at a window facing the entrance. Gotcha. Mina gave a big smile and a thumbs up as she tightened her grip on the tape. How much faith do you have in this plan anyways? Hanta asked as he rolled his shoulders. Not much, Mina admitted. It's kinda risky. Well, I got complete faith in your plan. Hanta flashed a smile under his helmet. We got this. Match start. All Might's voice came through the speakers. Let's get this bread, Hanta shouted as he jumped, doing an iconic pose of his favorite hero from New York. Mina followed behind him using the tips Hanta had given her about swinging. Hanta shot out a strand of tape from his right elbow and it hit a building. changing his course as he put his other arm out and got ready to do his part. They both quickly swung right towards the two attacking team members who noticed them too late. Hanta shot tape out of his left elbow and caught Ochako in it, taking her through the air with him as he went up. "What's up, Uraraka?" Hanta asked as he kept making tape to bind her with. "Are you guys even allowed to leave the building?" Ochako asked as she tried to get a finger on Hanta but found that he had made tape cover them already. "We haven't been disqualified yet, so I think we're fine," Hanta replied as he hung the girl upside down from a light pole he hand landed on. "I'll let you down in a minute." He jumped away and used tape to swing to Mina and Huryu, who were fighting in close combat. Huryu and Mina had made no headway on each other. Huryu's scales protected him from hard strikes from the acid user, and he could drop scales to make more if she burned through some of the scales. Mina was indeed flexible and fast in her fighting, as she could manage to move out of the way smoothly to not get touched by Huryu and his scale-covered arms. "You're really good at this," the scaled teen commented as they fought. "Thanks," Mina chirped as she dropped low and tried to sweep the teen, seeing Hanta swung to them. "What's crackin'?" The tape user did the same maneuver he did on Ochako, yanking Huryu up in the air and beginning to spin more tape around the teen before he could cut them with his scales. They both landed on the ground and Mina stood over Huryu with barely acidic liquid starting to appear on her hands. "We gotcha." The pink girl had a grin. Huryu made a facial expression that showed how displeased he was at the situation. "Well, I guess both attackers have been captured. Defenders win," All Might announced. "Whoa, yeah." Hanta pumped his fist. "That was fun. I'm gonna get Uraraka down from the light pole now." All Might had a smile as he watched the 4 participants of Match 4 enter the room and stand there, ready to be evaluated. "Defenders, that was an interesting decision that could have been costly but went well," All Might said. "It was all Ashido's plan," Hanta replied as he took off his helmet. "I think Zero should have MVP," Momo said. "The plan by Ashido was definitely excellent, but Zero's expertise with his own quirk is what made it work." Izuku nodded to show his support. "Yeah, those were some cool moves, Zero," Pony said. "I learned those watching old clips." Hanta was turning red from the praise. "I believe that you do earn MVP for your match, young Zero," All Might stated. "You are very talented with your quirk." "Everyone stop, I don't like blushing," Hanta said as he put his helmet back on to hide his face, which was getting redder when the number 1 hero gave him praise. All Might gave a loud laugh. "Very well, match 5, it is time for you guys to show your stuff." The 4 people did leave, quietly as they were arguably the quietest in the class. "I got money, Midoriya wins," Tetsu said once they left. Shoko turned to Kiyotaka, who had not bothered to say anything to her yet. "Do you have any suggestions? I walk in there and release my gas. As many quirks as Midoriya has, he doesn't have one to let him ignore my gas," Kiyotaka answered flatly. "He has shown to be smart and could find a way around that." Shoko frowned. "Send ice at him then," Kiyotaka answered with the same flat, rude tone he always had. Shoko kept her frown. She wasn't good with emotions, but she definitely didn't like this guy. "Do you have any ideas?" Midoriya Kanoko asked with less nervousness than before, looking at the boy who was carrying the bomb. The white and green-haired boy took a second before he spoke. "They both have strong quirks, but I think yours is stronger." Kanoko started to get flustered. What about yours?" "None of my quirks can affect them in this way," Izuku replied. "Your mushrooms are capable of growing anywhere with moisture?" he asked. "They spread easier with moisture, but they can travel a little in non-humid environments." The mushroom girl was wondering what Izuku was thinking. "Can you make mushrooms capable of knocking someone out if they breathe them?" the clear-eyed teen asked. "Definitely," she nodded, starting to get where Izuku was going. "They are going to target me." Izuku suddenly changed course on the topic. "My multiple quirks makes me a big target. We can set this up where Katsuki had made the floor break and you can make spores as we go. They will walk into them and breath them and pass out." Izuku finished his plan. "But Akitmitsu has that gas mask with the oxygen tanks," Kanoko pointed out. She loved Izuku's plan and didn't want it to mess up. Izuku nodded. "I have a plan for that. I got it from Zero and Ashido." "Wait, do you mean you are gonna jump out at them?" The girl didn't want him to jump out of a building. "No, I will scale down the building on the side quickly, follow them in and cut his oxygen tank's connection when I get a chance." "How many mushrooms should I be putting?" she asked as she made more spores cling to the wall of the stairs. "He might brush them off, but just don't let them be too visible, but close enough to have them breath them in. Todoroki could freeze them and render them useless," Izuku answered. Kanoko nodded. She had to admit, as socially weird and dense as he had shown to be, he also had a lot of intelligence when it came to this. Does his gas happen to be flammable? She wasn't sure if anyone really knew anything about Kiyotaka, but it didn't hurt to try. The clear-eyed teen reacted by shrugging. All Might wasn't going to lie to himself when he thought that this was definitely the match he wanted to see, solely because of Izuku. The boy had grown a little on him during their few interactions, and the boy has shown he has a talent for things like this. He definitely wanted to see what the boy was thinking of doing. "Class, how do you think this match will go?" All Might asked the 16 kids with him. "It could go either way, really," Tenya said. From what we know of everyone's quirks, these 4 are close to the strongest, especially Midoriya man. Denki said. He is a one-man army. Akitmitsu does have his gas quirk, however. Momo pointed out. Breathing it in for even a few seconds could make you go unconscious. Komori has her mushrooms as a counter. Toguro stated. From what we can see on screen, she has them everywhere. Todoroki can freeze those. Hanta pointed out. She could freeze the whole building probably. Izuku has flame breath. Katsuki countered. Yes, but he did say his resistance to the flames is not that strong, right? Mina asked. He couldn't melt all of the ice. Is super healing. Tetsu spoke next. Man can heal back from the flames, and he said all of his quirks use another quirk as a battery. He could do that. All Might liked how through the events of the class the kids were starting to think of more outcomes and variables in situations, which was something he hoped they would do. They always have to be prepared as a hero in the field. Izuku took off his sandals and swung his legs over the edge of the window, letting needle-like bones sprout from the bottom of them. Once the round starts, I am going down. Izuku stated. I'm leaving my sandals here. Kanoko nodded. She has started to like being around Izuku because he had an almost calming aura, even if he wasn't trying to give it off. I can make sure you get them later. Thank you, Izuku replied. Match 5 starts now, All Might announced. Good luck, Midoriya, Kanoko said as Izuku stood in the window preparing to go down the side of the building. The clear-eyed teen gave her a small smile. Good luck here too, Komori. He began to move at a pace just above walking to go down the building, letting the bone spikes in his feet go through the side of the building to keep him there. Shoko released a wave of ice to freeze the building, encasing the walls, floors, and ceilings all in ice. Izuku saw ice shooting across the side of the building and prepared to move so it wouldn't get him in it before suddenly his vision became splotches of black and white and his head seared in pain. He lost his grip on the side of the building. Unaware of his surroundings while falling and clutching his head in pain, his forehead smacked into the fire escape of the building next to the test building, and it made his momentum flip him ever and hit the side of his building again before hitting the ground. Izuku didn't move for a second while his clear poured out of the wound that wasn't healing immediately like it should have. All Might frantically grabbed the mic piece to speak to the whole area around the test site as he left the room to go check on Izuku in person. Well damn, Toguro blinked at what the class just saw happen. Why isn't he healing? Mina asked. Midoriya All Might spoke into the mic and the 3 other participants stopped in confusion on screen. Are you okay? Izuku's vision returned and his head injury snapped into healing at the familiar fast pace. He sat up as he regained his senses. I think, Izuku answered as he looked at the closest camera. What happened? He remembered his head pain started and then he blacked out, and the next thing he knew he was bleeding in the alley on the ground. Midoriya, are you okay? Kanoko asked over her own mic with worry. Do you wish to continue? All Might's voice sounded more calm, knowing the boy was okay for the most part. Yes, please. Izuku nodded. He rubbed his forehead and felt what happened? Midoriya, I think your quirks do not work during your head pains, All Might said as he got a few buildings away from the area where the test was. Kiyotaka stopped when he heard that. That was definitely something he should report to his master. Do you still wish to continue? Midoriya All Might asked in the speakers again. Even though the 2 people could see the man a few buildings away, they couldn't hear Izuku's response, but All Might spoke again. Midoriya, I think they would understand if you didn't continue. There was a pause again. Okay, Midoriya, but I want you to go to Recovery Girl after the match. Kiyotaka ignored the situation now to go grab the bomb. Clearly the clear-eyed teen was going to continue to participate and he wasn't going to lose time over whatever happened to him. Izuku stood up and shook his head to adjust himself as he straightened his outfit. Okay, All Might sensei, he replied to the camera. He made his way to the front of the building and saw as the gas mask-wearing teen was about to enter the building. Reacting fast, he shot a finger joints at both tubes connecting to the oxygen tanks on Kiyotaka's back. However, his aim was off and he only hit one. The other finger joint missing completely and went down the street. The gas quirk user turned to face Izuku before he started to release some gas. Stop, Shoko shouted at her teammate. Your tube is ruptured so you'll get affected. As much as she didn't care about Kiyotaka as she shared the general opinion of the class that he wasn't that nice, she didn't want to lose at all, especially for something stupid. Go get the bomb and I will deal with him. Kiyotaka didn't even question the ice user before he went into the building. Hi Todoroki. Izuku greeted the girl before he got into a stance. You were bleeding, Shoko remarked as she saw the on his face. She thought about how he came out of the alley and All Might did sound like he was freaking out earlier over the boy. Did you fall? I had one of my head pains. Izuku nodded. You should get that checked on. Shoko really didn't want to fight Izuku because there shouldn't have been that much on his head with his strong healing ability. I want to continue the match, Izuku stated. He dropped his stance a little and looked disappointed. He didn't like when everyone tried to treat him like a fragile glass item. Heroes are supposed to work past any struggles, so please don't make me quit. We should be helping each other grow as much as possible. Shoko felt amazement in Izuku's words. He had a good spirit and she didn't want to disrespect it at that point. Okay, since we are at this point we have to fight, and to show my respect for you and your goals I will put effort into this. She got into a stance and ice began to form over her right foot and the ground around it. Izuku gained a big smile that was infectious to the ice user and the other kids watching on the cams. I will also show my respect for you and your goals by putting effort into this. He begun to heat up his threat, expecting a wave of ice. Shoko noticed his throat that began to appear with an orange glow. She made a motion with her right arm and a glacier formed going right at Izuku. The clear-eyed teen released the fire buildup and let loose a large torrent of flames through the tube connected to his glove that collided with the glacier, both clashing and making a cloud of steam form. Both teens released their attacks at the same time and held grins at the sight of the steam and water in between them. Your ice is really strong, Izuku commented as he let his throat and mouth repair themselves rapidly from the fire. Your flames are also strong, Shoko replied in the same almost monotone voice. Damn, those two could really someone up with those attacks, Denki said. Mina had a wide-eyed happy expression. As the love expert I declare that I have found my first case. Wait, just because they clashed attacks you think you are going to set them up? Hanta asked. Those two are strong and quiet people in our class, Mina said. My love expert senses are tingling. One interaction doesn't mean two people are going to get together, Katsuki stated. You're just hating. Mina ignored the blonde. Shoko had a small smile as she shot out another wave of ice, attempting to freeze Izuku's legs to the ground. The boy jumped up high and rolled through the air as he pulled a bone from his that was a meter-long pole, moving it in a way that would hit Shoko if she didn't react fast enough. Luckily for her she did, making a curved wave of ice form in between her and Izuku, his bone staff cracking the ice on impact. She made another wave of ice shoot out of that ice, but Izuku jumped off again and shot finger joints at the ice as it started to follow him, breaking off chunks of the ice as he avoided the ice she made. Izuku noticed a hole in her fighting style and planned to expose it. He made a large hammer-like bone and jumped up in the air as he did a front flip to slam it into the ice around the two with immense force, cracking the ice everywhere and almost knocking Shoko off her feet if she didn't make ice behind her to keep her upright. You're quite strong, Shoko commented as Izuku took a breath, the hammer taking some substantial energy from him. Your ice is remarkable, Izuku stated. He really thought her ice was amazing. It was definitely a quirk above others to him. You have a hole in your style, however. Shoko raised an eyebrow. Why would you tell me? This is a practice class, so we should use it for improvement. You stay in one spot too much, Izuku answered as he used his telekinesis to lift the piece of broken ice Shoko was standing on suddenly and had her fall over from the sudden movement. Izuku ran forward quickly and pointed a finger at her, indicating his finger joint move he wouldn't actually use on her. I have you captured now, I think. Shoko looked flustered that she got captured by having her own ice used to make her fall over. However, Izuku wasn't being rude in the slightest with this, so she accepted. I suppose that counts as a capture. That is the match. Both attackers have been captured. All Might appeared next to the two of them. You both did amazing. That was certainly something I enjoyed seeing in person. All Might put a hand on Izuku's shoulder to get a better look at his head where the hand stain. Midoriya, you should really get this checked now. Your classmates will let you know about the evaluation after in class. Once you are cleared with recovery, girl, please see me in the teacher's lounge before you return to class. The green and white-haired teen nodded. Okay. He began to walk to the main UA building. Young Todoroki, your ice is quite remarkable. All Might praised the girl, who blushed a little from the praise. I will be getting the other two from the building as they are both unconscious, but we shall still have the evaluation of your match. Okay. The ice user nodded. All Might had gotten Kiyotaka and Kanoko back to the rest of the class and a quick creation of smelling salts from Momo, and they were both awake. Alright class, what are your thoughts on this match? That fight between Midoriya and Todoroki was dope as shit, Denki stated. Language, young Kaminari. All Might lectured. Oops, the electric blonde replied sheepishly. Komori and Midoriya both pulled great moves that got them the win, Toguru said. Komori making so many spores while in the gas so that Akitmitsu would get hit by them and knock out from the effects of the mushrooms was a good clutch move. Midoriya holding off Todoroki outside was great, and if Todoroki got inside, her ability to freeze the mushrooms would have been bad for Komori. Personally, I think Komori should get it for her ability to shut down Akitmitsu. The insect-like teen finished, and the mushroom girl was very red by the end of it, not used to praise. Nah man, Midoriya's wanting to go on after his accident was an amazing part. Tetsu disagreed. He has drive and it helped him. His battle sense is amazing, and that's some MVP-worthy stuff. While it was a sight to see him continue after that, Komori did prevent the person who was after the bomb from getting the bomb. Todoroki went after Midoriya, and he engaged her instead of Akitmitsu. He did good, but Komori should get MVP. Momo defended her opinion. Let's put it to a vote, Katsuki said. Everyone for Komori, he said, is Toguru, Momo, Ochako, Kyoka, Huryu, Hanta, Mashurao, Mina and Fumikage raised their hands. That's 9 out of 16. Tenya stated. That makes you the MVP of match 5, young Komori. All Might gave his signature smile. Thanks. The mushroom girl had turned redder from all the praise and attention. You kids can now return to the locker room, out back on your school uniforms and return to class. Aizawa will be given notes for you that he will go ever as he seems fit. You all did splendidly and should take as much learning experience from this as you only have up to go from her on your paths to being pro heroes. Remember to always go plus ultra. The class repeated the famous slogan of UA, with enthusiasm save for one person, who was making sure to remember everything he observed from his target. Izuku entered the office of Recovery Girl, and the aged woman smiled when she saw him before she saw his clear all over his head. Oh dearie, what happened? She hustled over to him. I had a head pain and I think I fell. Izuku answered. He still wasn't clear on what happened. Recovery Girl's phone went off and she saw she got a video from All Might that had a message that just said Izuku. She checked it to see that it was a clip from their battle trials. Izuku's head pain happened and he fell and hit his head 3 separate times. Oh dearie, this would have been serious if your regeneration didn't kick back in. He sent you what happened? Izuku asked. He did. I would have preferred if you came earlier, but at least you are here now. Let me do some checks to make sure you don't have a concussion, she said as she began to check. After a minute she gave a smile. You are fine so far. Any injuries from it were healed immediately when your quirks began to work again properly. Why didn't my regeneration work immediately with each injury? The teen asked. My theory is somehow your head pains make your quirks shut off momentarily during them, which would explain how you healed once you were back to normal after the head pains left. The doctor said. Is there a way to treat my head pains? Izuku asked. Recovery Girl made a frown. Sorry, sweetie, I don't have expertise in that area. All I can say is it will get better with time. The teen nodded. Thank you. The reassurance that it would get better helped him. Have some gummies, sweetie. The doctor held a bowl of gummies to Izuku, who took 2 blue ones shaped like sharks. Thank you. Izuku smiled. He liked the gummies. Izuku knocked on the door to the teacher's lounge. You can come in, Midoriya, a voice said, and Izuku entered. The teen saw a malnourished man he recognized as All Might. Hello, young Midoriya. I'm sorry we had to meet here, but I couldn't stay in my muscular form any longer and you already know my secret. It's fine. Izuku didn't mind it at all and sat across from All Might, who offered the boy some tea that he took politely. Recovery Girl said that it is possible my quirks all shut down during my head pains, except my Shiketsumiyaku. All Might nodded. If he had to guess, the Shiketsumiyaku didn't turn off because of what that evil man Maruta did to the poor boy. At least you are fine now. Izuku nodded at that. I wanted to speak to you about our search. Do you think there might be candidates to receive one for all in your class? Izuku thought for a second. Most of the people in my class are nice. They all have kindness like you want in a successor. All Might took a drink of his tea. Your classmates certainly are an interesting bunch. They also have talent with their own quirks too. Isn't there another class in the heroes department? Izuku asked. I think we shouldn't just look at one class. All Might nodded. That is very true. In fact, they have their own battle trials tomorrow. I will take notes on them that we can share over more tea. If it helps whittle the numbers down, the person should have that heroic spark, which they all seem to have, but also that feature of making people happy or sage with their actions and if possible their presence. That is something someone can gain over time. Izuku responded, especially if you teach them. That is true. My sensei did teach me what means to carry the smile. All Might agreed with the boy. He couldn't help but think again of how much Izuku was someone who was worthy of one for all. He couldn't force the quirk upon the boy and respected the boy's choice, however, so he pushed that thought down. So one for all, talk withholding. How do you like your class, Midoriya? They are nice. Most of everyone gets along and have chemistry as friends. The boy stated. They like my cooking. You cook now. Rumi taught me. She says I am good enough to be a chef. All Might smiled at how fondly Izuku spoke of Rumi. Just the tone when mentioning her was happy. I have no doubt about that. You are a talented kid. Hiyataka sent the message over his phone to his master while they waited for Aizawa to speak. The teacher having going over notes sent to him by All Might over their performances. Everyone turned their heads when the door opened to the classroom to see it was Izuku, having changed back into his own school uniform but still having his clear stained on his head. Not minding it, he went to his seat to see his sandals had been placed there and he put them on. Hello, Midoriya. Shota nodded to the teen. You came just in time for me to go over notes for everyone. I will only mention a few things now, but we will go over everything else tomorrow. Right now is only major things I think should be adjusted. Bakugo. While it was diffused by Tsunotori, you should find a way to calm your nerves so you don't jump into something too risky too quick. The explosive blonde nodded, accepting the criticism. Kamakiri. Just because someone has habits, don't let those habits be a rule. Outliers exist and people do sometimes randomly change up. When you follow another person's pattern, you fall into a pattern. Takoyami. I suggest taking a Jiro on his offer. Just because you have a highly offensive quirk where it fights for you doesn't mean you let it close a skill gap. Akitmitsu, I suggest a tool to help with your inability to breathe in your own gas. Komori, there might be mushrooms that help stimulate you enough to counteract toxins to put you to sleep. If they exist, you should add them to your arsenal. Midoriya, I know you can't control your head pains, but I suggest making sure you aren't in a bad spot so that you don't accidentally cause a similar accident. All of the kids nodded at the notes. You can all go to the dorms at this point. You have like 5 minutes of class left anyways. Shota out his head down on the desk. Okay, see you eyes away, Sensei, Mina chirped. Now we can have the cook-off hand clapped. After I fight these dinguses, Tagaru stated as he pointed to Tetsu and Ijiro. They still owe me a match. Your so on Ijiro got pumped up.